then your lunch break, and of course, after that, it will be followed by the workshop. So, um, lahi niya atong dynamics karon no, because after the session, during the morning, nanin tayo mga workshops sa hapon, which you will be doing on your own, and then you will be submitting for our feedback dayon. Okay? So allow me to again give you this important webinar reminders. So for security purposes, please use your real names. So basin naapay wala nagamit sa ilahang mga tinuod nga ngalan, palihog lang ko o kanang change no sa inyong ngalan, so we can also verify if it's you and if you're part of the organization or part of USTP. So this will prevent us from letting in crashers, flashers, and potential hackers in the meeting. Also allow us to mute you during the meeting. So kabantay mo ka ganina basing pagsulod ninyo, you were able to unmute yourselves, but right now we have muted you all. This is to ensure no ambient noises will distract the speakers and you, the listeners. We also encourage you that you use your earphones so you can clearly hear the speakers' discussions, and that we can ensure focus during the discussion. You may also use the raise hand feature or the chat feature if you have questions later on or any points of clarification as you would like. Okay, and then we also encourage everyone to turn on their cameras. We could also feel that you are here with us, listening to us. But if ever that will affect your bandwidth, then turn off lang sa ang cameras. But later on, we will be asking you to turn them on. Okay, should you be cut off from the meeting due to intermittent internet connection, just log back in. Okay, and then after the session, again, we will be having the virtual pictorial. So that, no? And then, by the way, this session is recorded for documentation purposes, so that later after our session, we can just give you the link to our video. And then again, certificates will be given after day 5 has been completed, no? Sige po. Now, allow me to introduce you to CiTL. Kaya ito mga miaging adlaw, no? Tuog yung gistoryahan, heavily revolving around HR, yun kaayon to siya ng mga topics. Okay, so as I've mentioned, we are now transitioning to the training towards CiTL ng mga pedagogical training. Okay, so CiTL, or the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning, is an enabling hub for achieving institutional goals of increasing market to its product by providing outstanding instruction and support for not only our new, but also our continuing professional development of our veteran experienced faculty members. So hence, this will lead the university be able to produce graduates that can compete globally, not only employed as leaders to industries, but also to have been given an option to become successful innovators. So kuan lang no, since we are talking here about teaching and learning, it's not only you who will be trained to be innovative, but also we will be having this goal na kuan po innovative po datong students, no? Okay. So our mandate is basically, this is because CiTL is one of the products of the 7-point agenda, for Year for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. So its aim is to enable, and achieve institutional goals, and to manage as well as supervise the instruction and implementation of new pedagogies, and start building the innovative teaching and learning ecosystems to produce quality graduates that are not only educated to support and work in an industry or company, but also educated to become innovative entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders. So basically, or specifically, as we will be facilitating the integration of the innovation framework or paradigm, the CDIO and design thinking. So we have already been integrating that, in the different curricular programs, which includes the development and support of the teaching and learning of innovation courses in engineering and other programs through capacity and capability building trainings of the faculty. So kani siya, isa ni siya sa amo ang mga kuan gyud sa amo ang mga agipangandoy sa CiTL, that we will be moving towards the innovative framework, and integrating CDIO and design thinking in our curriculum. And we actually started it already with our senior high school. nanami mga gipang start ng mga kuan nga mga nga course no nga ma-encourage ang ilahang kuan pagka-innovative nila no and then um, hopefully in college no we started with the College of Technology as well nga nag-integrate na sa design thinking sa course. Okay? So we also be providing the venue where effective educational strategies, best teaching, evidence-based practices, and pedagogy are shared among faculty members. And that's the reason why we had Katubitang sharing the flexible learning teaching experience, no, because it is also a venue for us to really share. No, we will have this collegial sharing nga makita nato nga pwede di ay ni mabuhat innovative din ning ingon ani and maybe we could also take those important and mga meaningful na mga activities and practices para pwede po nato siya ma-integrate sa ato ang pagtudlo no then facilitate the review or design of the curriculum courses programs to sustain and promote innovation entrepreneurship. Okay. So this is our framework. Okay, so the center's framework shows that the university will continually strive for excellence in instruction with the outcomes-based education. So as what you can see, the OBE here is the center. No? So as a method for curriculum design and teaching, so OBE is our method for curriculum design and teaching. The stated outcomes and objectives of the curriculum will be achieved if the faculty will be provided with the opportunity to be capacitated and provided with several venues for capability building in service trainings. And these in-service trainings include, but not limited to, topics or concepts regarding CDIO, design thinking, facilitation, on designing assessments of learning and methods as well, which we will be having today. No? However, the center also believes that there must be a follow-up through or there will be an assistance no, that must be extended to the faculty after attending trainings and workshop. Thus, coaching and mentoring is a program that will ensure sustainability and continuous drive for improvement in instruction. So, muna day nang naana dayon may faculty mentoring and coaching program. Okay? So the online series and webinars are also provided for the faculty to also gain knowledge on evidence-based pedagogies through a short video highlighting some good practices of teaching. Okay, and then believing that excellent teaching has to be recognized. So the innovative teaching series, katong sharing the FLT experience that's part of the innovative teaching series, no, is a year-round activity in the college where a faculty will share the strategies and pedagogies in engaging students and their experiences in using CDIO, design thinking, etc. in the class. No, so for those who attended, I'm pretty sure dagan kayo na amazed nga hala pwede di ay nang ingon ana innovative di kay bibo di kayo ningon ani even if we are already in the new normal and we are already doing flexible learning pwede di ay even if we are just looking at our students on screen no as one of the speakers mentioned that the screen is not really a hindrance to teaching and learning. In fact, it is a very good tool no to really practice your you know show your capability as an innovative instructor. Okay, so the center is basically a faculty support, and with its program and services, the vision is to have a community of practice in USTP. So hopefully in the near future, pag makuha na tanan no ma-cover na nato tanan, then we will forge a community of practice in USTP na dahil. So kita na din tanan no pare-pareha na tag way of dili man parehag way yun no because ang ato man kay we are also building on our uniqueness but ang ato ang mga kuano strategies na to ma-improve na nato and it will be more innovative. Okay. So this is the team. So we have Dr. Amparo Vitinexao, our director, and then the 4 program heads. Yours truly for the new faculty program. Then we have Engineer Rogen V. Marcilia, the program head for capacity and capability building. Then we also have Engineer Lloyd John B. Stampa, who is also currently the principal of the senior high school. And then we have Engineer Eileen A. Sierras for the innovative teaching series. And then we have our staff, you know. Okay. And to know more about us and our services, you can actually like our Facebook page. So as you can see, the link, no? And I will also be sending you the link no, sa ato ang chat box, so you can also feel free to browse on our website and our um, ang amo apong ko ano amo ang Facebook page. So para kabalo mo sa mga sa dagan upcoming activities no, so you follow and like us on our Facebook page. And na po yung mga testimonies dito ug mga tips no? So that would be useful for you no? Okay, so without further ado no, let me introduce you our first speaker. So Dr. Amparo Vidua Dinexal earned her undergraduate and master's degree from USTP, now known as USTP, where she took up her bachelor's studies in industrial education, but she majored in mathematics, and her master's studies of science in teaching mathematics, respectively. She earned her Doctor of Philosophy in Education from Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan. She was part of the Xavier University Center for the Advancement in Teaching, or SUCAT, for 6 years and has conducted numerous seminar workshops on advanced research statistics, assessments of learning methods, test construction, and research-based teaching strategies, just to name a few. Okay? Some of her recognitions include Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan Magis Award for Outstanding Administrator in 2012 and Pilgrim College Outstanding Alumni in the field of education in 2015. Currently, she is the director of the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning at the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Ampi Dinexal.
Thank you, Sir Arvin. I need to screen share, please. I can't screen share. Good morning, everyone. This is going to be an interactive. I hope there are people behind the accounts. So may I ask everyone to chat and say hello there para po makita na to kung naabay mga tao po diha sa ano. Hello, Sir Glenn. Hello there. There. Marian, Jasmine Samar, Mary, Carla, Alvin. Hello. Hello, good morning, Doc Guapa. Paborito na ako to siya nga linya, no? Salamat po. Hello, Dukia. There, Francis Macala. Asa pa marang bandagan betaylo po, ma'am. Si Jody, si Cherry, si Mary Joy. There. This is so I'm asking you to do the chat because that is what we're going to do most today. Let me request that you respond to our activities. Okay po. Cheryl, good morning. Ma'am Joy, good morning po. Jaren, Micah. So good morning once again. So welcome to Designing Assessments of Learning. Thank you, Sir Arvin, for the kind introduction, as well as for introducing CITL. Meron pa, no? Sila Hazel, si Ma'am Corazon, who's been with us since day one. Salamat po, and also very active. So this morning and tomorrow, I will be with you for 2 days, no? So this is generally the objectives. We will be acquainted with OBE framework. OBE is the framework we use when we were designing and when we design and when we are revisiting our curriculum. But we have redesigned this activity, the 2-day mornings only activity, so that you get only what is relevant as a faculty and in teaching in the classroom. So you've noticed also POs, PEOs, COs, ILOs, are these familiar that is found in your course syllabus? If that's the case, may I request everyone to have with them a copy of their course syllabus, no? And let's be familiar with the principles of high quality assessment, because when we wanted to determine how our students are learning, these are anchored on certain principles. And then, of course, the role of assessment in making instructional decisions. And let's talk about table of specifications and how to construct some of the things you we hope that you consider when you're constructing your assessments. No, that means traditional meaning written, and then the non-traditional meaning assessing students in terms of performance innovative tasks. So these, no, these 2 days. So this is basically our session. So I'm really requesting everyone to be with us the entire session. No, I hope there are people behind the camera and the account. And thank you for responding and saying hello. May buntag, and sana po we always pray that we're always safe. Okay? So this is going to be, we'll talk about principles of effective assessment, and then let's have breakout sessions. No, you'll be in a particular group. In ano no, mura siya og kanang group work in a workshop, and then meet some colleagues and maybe discuss some guidelines you wish to your department to consider. And then we'll come back to a plenary. We'll talk about the course outcomes, no, that is found in your course syllabus, because there are certain guidelines for writing that out. And why is that very relevant? So then we'll have workshops. Our workshops are individual, no. Even if we are in this session, in this 2 day session, and when we conducted this with the entire university and across all our campuses, we we really ask our faculty to do this individually. So, and then of course everyone is requested and required to submit the workshop outputs. So, email po the workshop outputs po. There. Okay? So, again, pag naamo sa field, sa kanang room, usually we check, no? We check who is, usually sa door, sa mga walls, ang mga pangalan, sa mga participants o kinsa ni nag-submit sa workshop. But this time, we're going to flash tomorrow kung sino po ang nakasubmit sa mga workshops outputs na to. So we redesigned this so that it is more of a kanang webinar, kaya di naman kita pwede magkita, no? So the entire discussion here is on assessment. So exactly what is assessment? It is a process that helps us infer. So I want to highlight the term and the word infer. Okay? Of what? About students learning and understanding and abilities based on data. These are very important operative word, no, of what we mean by assessment. Meaning, assessment is a process of gathering data. Gathering data about what? About students learning, no? About how they're understanding, about are they developing, are they demonstrating abilities, are they demonstrating the outcomes that you wish they would have achieved, or the competencies that they should have developed. So those are assessment. So question. So please on the chat box, share your response, no, using the chat section. In your response, use the format what, then your response why, then your response how, your response, and then when your response. So my question is, what do you assess? And why do you assess? How do you assess, and when? May we ask from our participants? Ano pong thoughts niyo? If assessment is any process that for you as a faculty to know whether your students are learning, and so it's a process of gathering data. So what do you assess? Why, how, and when? May I see your responses po in our chat section? So Alvin says is assessing the learning. Mhm. Students' learning progress, sabi ni Sir Jasper. You're determining whether students are progressing, no? and if learning is occurring. How about the others po? Trasha Mar, Sunny, student knowledge, Sir Mama Jory, assessing the student and comprehension, student's performance, sabi ni Sir Glenn. Jasmine, a process and a product of understanding of which action. Okay. All right, Sir Ma'am Angel says, before, during, after discussion is an assessment. Good, ano ha, deciding on what to teach. That's nice, Shihone. Cheryl, application of learning. Leo says, I want to determine what the learning progress, no? Application, okay. So Rhea says, she's assessing skills that meet the standards. Oh, I like that emphasis, meaning that there has to be some standards first. Ba? Okay, you wanted to you want to determine man if they met the standards. Correct? Mm-hmm. Marlene, student learnings and application. Okay. Okay, Gemelin, student skills. Arlene, the student progress. Angeline, okay. Students, a comprehension objective of certain. Okay, that's what we want, no? Oh, yan. How giving if checking was able to grasp. That's why. Oh, I like that, Marjonis. Okay. Jasper says, why? Because we want to know if they develop the skill. I like that. The how, there are some random quizzes. Okay. I like that, Sir Aleja. You are assessing because you wanted to evaluate if the teaching learning process is efficient and effective. Sana all, no? Mga ganon. So Josephine says, Maria Luz, check, monitor, and evaluate whether the students were able to grasp and understand all the lessons taught during the class. Okay, Gwen, to find out what students are learning and to improve students' performance. I like that also, Gwen, no? Because you will facilitate, no? How students will improve. And Arlene says, if the instructor was able to present the topic well, I like that. Because, if the students are learning, then there must have been teaching. There must have been facilitation of skill. And, maybe it's time also to say, ano kaya pwede kong gawin? Kasi parang hindi nakukuha, di ba? Because if they know already, then they should not be with us anymore if kabalo na sila. So it's really the faculty, very important ang role. All right. When to assess before, during, and after. Salamat, Sir Sunny, for that. Why? To find out how well students are, sabi ni Shehoni. That's nice, no? Thank you very much for your responses. So, when you said, no, gathering from all your responses, and sana po all mag-respond, wag po tayong mahiya, kita-kita, ramampod, di ba? What do you assess? You said you're assessing learning, you're assessing progress, you're assessing whether the topic is you're assessing progress, you're assessing learning. And why do you do that? Because you wanted to see whether they're meeting standards, whether skills are there, whether competencies are there. And how I'm seeing how is you're doing a quiz, you're doing observation, you're doing midterms, you're also doing question and answer, ang mga ganon, no? And when, I'm seeing a when is before, during, after. So meaning na gidi ay ga-assess even during the discussion, even during. So nagsinabot di ay tanong nga ang assessment dili lang di siya gitawag og when we wanted to determine whether students are learning, dili lang di ay siya midterm, final. So dili na dito uso tong sa una, no? So nag-i-evolve din ang kalibutan, no? Katong college pa pud ang uban sa ato ang murag medyo taod-taod na, baka naman po dili na gid mao ang ways karon because nag-e-evolve ang konteksto sa mga estudyante, meaning the situations they're in, the circumstances that they're in, and there has been a lot of researches already. So maybe we will make it a habit, no, to always improve, to always attend in service, because again, researches would tell us how our students are best learning. So nakita dito na dili lang di ay assessment ng katurang quiz ra din. So even the way we ask questions, these are informal assessment that will tell us, ano nga ba itong sinabi natin sa assessment, that will tell us whether they're getting it, they're grasping the topic, they're learning, they're progressing, and all that. No? So salamat po for your responses. Okay? Salamat po, no? Meron pang when, before, and after, mga ganun. So again, we emphasize that assessment helps us infer, meaning that as a faculty, as a professor, we are assessing because that will tell us whether they are learning, no, whether they're understanding and they are developing in terms of their abilities. So other definition of assessment says that there's an emphasis, no, in terms of processes of assessment, is that it has to be a systematic collection and the analysis of information to improve student learning, meaning siguro na dapat na ay smooth na pag-collect sa mga whether our students are learning, and then of course that should give us data on how they are learning. So, dobi kung gicheka na to, no, kan murag taud-taud na din, humana ang then how can we help if wala siya gi-analyze ang information that we're getting in an assessment tool or an assessment procedure, an assessment method. It is also considered a means as an end. That's why some of you are telling me, I'm getting whether I'm an effective teacher or the strategy is effective and all that, no? And again, thank you for emphasizing our colleagues here that it is not a one-time event but a dynamic, ongoing process. So some of us really did not have this, parang walay background sa assessment because this is again a field in the education. So thank you for joining this webinar, because some of us naman talaga parang tinawag ng tadhana, no, to teach in the academe, engineering, technology, technology as well, no. And then biglang core syllabus, table of specification, how to create exam, mga ingana. So allow us po from CITL to share what because this is our field po, no, kaning naa sa education. But we're not going to talk about your specialization, your field of discipline, because po when you were hired, when your services were requested by the university, the assumption is that you're expert in your field. So allow us to share something that is coming from our field as well. So we're not gonna talk about unsa gyud ang imuhang discipline, no, how to teach thermodynamics, dili po ing ana, no. But how are we going to determine if our students are learning? So assessment, these are also diagnostic tools for planning instruction, roadmap for journey through instructional, and evidences of learning. So when we talk about assessment, we're also talking about evidences of learning. No? Ito bang, ano ba talaga ang evidences na the students are learning or not learning as well? Instructional materials to measure student learning, we also call them assessment. No? There are several types of assessment. Some of you says you are assessing pre-instructional, meaning before, during, formative, and then summative. Salamat po for doing this. So kita ba na naabay uban sa to aga diagnostic test? Naabay ga diagnostic test sa mga colleagues nato diri karon? Wala po ba ga diagnostic test sa 135 nato diri? Okay, so there na diagnostic test, sabi ni Sir Bacos, no? So my question is, appeal ba na siya i-record? Si Ma'am Shihone says ga-diagnostic. Naaba mo yung mga kauban na nailhan nga ga-diagnostic sila or naa sila yung mga pre-test. And did you know that, Sir Jed says, yes po, did you know that Research also is revealing right now that nice kaayo nga na ay pre-test yun, and it's a good practice, no? May some of you may wanna consider, but of course I'm getting dapat dili i-record. Pwede pong i-record pero dili part sa computation, mga anak siguro, no? So just to emphasize po, para mag-storya tag formative summative, we understand one another. Pag formative po, these are ongoing assessments, no? These are mga answer the exercise, do the activity, the group work, and present to me, mga gano'n, no? Formative. Yung mga summative, ito yung mga midterm quizzes, long test, no? Ito talaga yung talagang let's judge, parang ganun. So when we are doing formative, summative, just presenting to you a garden analogy, parang these are assessment ways where you where you murag nurture muna the students, no? Growing, nurturing. So munang mga formative assessments is at ano yung mga activities that will lead them that they're able to answer our summative, no? Formative ways such as what? Such as mga exercises, group activity, mini tasks, mga ingana, no? Workbook exercises, mga ganon. Pag abot na dayon diri sa, because during the formative, that should give us data. They're not learning. Maybe I will give this activity. Maybe I'll ask them to read this website. Maybe I will request them to view this video. Maybe try muna ta og kanina mga group activity kay so that they're getting the concepts, no? Mga mag-Venn diagram, mag-unsa pa, mga ana. What are the assessments called summative? Ito yung mga sukod na, no? Pass or fail, unsa ang degree of learning, unsa ang depth sa nasabtan, mga ingana na ang ano. So these are your midterms, your long tests, your final exams, no, when we're talking of formative. So what are the role of assessment? No, formative it should give us both the teacher and the students feedback. It will tell us also monitoring, no, are most of the students getting the concepts? If they're not getting the concepts, that's something I need to redo, I need to present, I need to do something. And it has to be more frequent. No? It will give us also what to advise our students. But the summative assessments and the tools are telling us the sum of learning, and this time judgment, then it's grade time, mga ganun. So in this activity, again, let me ask everyone to respond to this, I don't know, to this Google form. So I'm putting it in our chat box. Please click that. Are these assessment practices questionable or promising? Everyone, please click the link in the chat box, or you can type http://bit.do/assessment practices on your web, and then tell us, are these questionable or promising assessment practices? So you will see this, no, in our Google form. Click, click, click. Wala man ni pangalan, so please respond, no? May pangalan na, so kuan man. We just wanted to see whether unsa man ato ang. Sige po. I'll give you 2 minutes po. Two minutes. I'll wait for your response. There are 7 of you who responded already. So everyone, please respond. 12. Okay, our numbers are rising. Everyone, please respond. Elisa? We'll wait for the others, ha? Salamat. Warm-up quiz. How about the others? I only have 50. Are they still... Okay. Thank you po, Sir Ma'am Josephine. Okay, 30 seconds to go. I'm receiving 60 responses. How about po the others? Medyo half pata. All right. Thank you. I received 72. Okay, I'll show you the results, ha? Show you the results. Or your responses pala. The results. There. Are you seeing the results, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige po. Ito po yung mga responses niya. Then let's talk about this. Ba? Question number 1, using tests as punishment. Yan, 70 responded out of 76. Dili questionable ni. Pero naiunom sa atoa na pwede. Di man. Ano, siguro, no? Tapos administering tests instead of teaching first, derita medyo bahin, no? And let's talk about that. Number 3, using written test as the exclusive measure for grading. Written lang yun siya. So, namurag nabahin dito diri, no? Written lang yun. Maana, no? And then, there is a matching assessments with learning outcomes. Ba? Okay. So sabi nyo, na 5 questionable, dili di ay dapat i-match, something like that, no? And then, returning tests to students without offering corrections or explanation. If we ever return at all, hugot ni siya. No? Some of you says, di ni pwede. Questionable ni siya. Maana, no? And then, ano, so balik ko dire. Using tests as punishment. So most of us, no, 90% kapin, 95 ba? 72 over, halos mag 98% says, dili pwede gini siya. Unsa ganito, balik ta gani sa inyong gingon sa ako, assessments are used to determine whether students are progressing, whether students are learning, whether teaching is effective. Ano pa bang sabi natin sa assessment? To recalibrate, to to re-strategize, mga ganon. So ngano ka to mga former teachers sa una no na pag naay ma-zero gagmay tagko ka or saba ta moingon na maday get one whole. Murag najut lang. Diba ay lang ta mag-assess because we wanted to determine whether students are learning. Bakit po nagamit siya as punishment? Or kung gatabi sa likod, or wala na minaw, or gado ka, no? Kanina itabo gini siya sa ako. Amphi! Answer number 1. Hala, oy, nagduka na ganita. No? So, it was used as punishment. So, always siguro ta mo balik sa what was the point of assessing, no? And number 2, administering test instead of teaching first. I like that medyo nabahin ta. Maybe because some of us says, dili mo pwede ka mag-test kung wala ka nag-teach. And some of us said during the responses na pwede man, basta pre-test lang. And I'm seeing kay Sir Alvin kanina na Sir Holuyuhoy na dili siya pwede i-record or dili siya pwede i-part sa computation sa grade. Because that should only tell us whether students have a pre-knowledge, no, or or they know the concepts ahead, so that we would know saan po mag-e-emphasize, no, para wala mga assumption. So pre-test is a very good practice, and if you're practicing that, please continue that one. Okay? So, how about number 3? Using test as exclusive measure. Hindi po pwedeng written test lang. And that's why in our grading, we have a performance innovative tasks. Tomorrow, we'll talk about designing your performance task. That's why it's part of the criteria there, because we believe na hindi lang ka-measure ang outcomes, no? Dili lang ka-measure ang outcomes via just just a written exam. Kailangan nato gyud makita kung maka-apply ba. Wala din ako nina-delete ng excuse senior high diri, no? Because I used this when I gave assessments of learning to them last month. Okay? Sige po. Matching assessments with learning outcomes, it should match. Diba? Kaya ani ni siya, you wanted to determine whether students can, write a persuasive speech. But remote learning man, so write as persuasive speech but video yourself. However, ang nangyayari, the rating mas nagtanaw ka dito sa giyon sa niya pag-edit na aba siya lighting, tsada ba ang iyang framing sa iyang ingana, kung gitudlo na siya and you try to develop their skills there on that area, well, assess that. But again, our focus is assess what was really the learning outcomes that you wish that your students should demonstrate to you, no? Returning tests to students without offering corrections or if we even return at all, naka-estudyante na bata o kuan kanang mga o naka-maestra na bata when we were in college, wala kita nakakita sa to ang mga tests or unsa to mga result. Na-shock na lang ta gamay ta grado or na-shock ta 1.1 atong grade. Nabatay mga ingana. Returning test is also a feedback to our students, no? Usay pag-return sa tong test, makaano ta kin unsa ni oy kanus ani giuli di ay 3 months ago pa daini siya nga test. So my question here is, kanusa di ay dapat iuli ang test? Several times. Naagya pa tayo hugot, Sir Ma'am Jones, no? Kanusa dapat from the time our students took the test, mga kanusa dapat na naatay feedback? 2 weeks, sabi ni Sir Jasper. Ang uban, unsa man? 1 day after the exam. Sir Rogelio. I like that. Ako ng ambisyon, kung hindi ka kahitabo. 5 to 7 days, week after, okay. That's good, Sige po. Usay wala na gitay love life no. Basta kay daghan kay chikonon pero um, practices by specialists says 2 weeks after the students took the test, ano pa no, naapay effect sa ilaha. They can reflect on it and they can find ways, the feedback, no? They can, it also tells them, I need to look into this because the concepts are something that I'm not understanding. So there are I don't know, it has still effect. So within that 2 weeks, pag beyond that daw po, medyo it loses its effect or impact in terms of feedbacking. So you might want to consider that, no? Giving tests the students did not know how to take, everyone says that is questionable, no? So when our students, ano lugar, no, you ask, create a Venn diagram on the something similarities between this speech and that speech. Sa mga estudyante, kabalo magit sila unsa nga speech, ang kanil siya unsa pod na speech. Pero wala sila kabalo unsay Venn diagram. Kaya wala man na sukad nimo gigamit sa inyong classroom, wa pod sila na introduce, may ana no. Ang punto diri is there are processes of tests that may hinder for them to demonstrate to us that they learn. So maybe we wanted to look into that also, no? Taking too long in returning tests, okay? Diri kita pareho tanan, no? 80 nag-ingon, that's not okay. I like that. Di na siya pwede. It's good that we emphasized it a while ago. Okay, and then we said discussing with each student his or her class performance. Of course, no, that is promising. Pero katong uban nga masuko nga kanang nga ni ani ka. So we can invite our students no to come and really see and discuss only their performance with them. All right? And then this one, not showing the class record to student. Kabalo man tano, dili ni siya private. Class record is not private, especially their own performance. So we have to show that to the student po. Okay? And really discuss with them. I had a privilege to talk to some of the teachers in Soksay, no? And ganahan kay ko kay naa sila gi-share sa ako ang isa-isahon din nila ni mga student na medyo feeling nila kanang ang performances kay dili okay. And you know, when you talk to your students, when you make time, no, to talk to your students, you would understand what's going on. And actually, dili man sa mukalit lang sila ka bright, but they'd feel heard and they would improve eventually their performance, no, because they feel seen and heard, may ana. So I like that Sockside practices, no. Testing material that was not taught, we said that is very questionable. So these are practices, no, na medyo let's try to look into. Kay kabalo naman tanga na ay ga test diha og ang na-cover lang kay chapters 1 to 3. Tapos pag abot dayon sa exam kay coverage chapters 1 to 7, makahilak sa Tomas estudyante ana, no. So kabalo man yata ta, that's not a very good assessment practice. So thank you for your response. 81 of us responded to that our Google form. You may also do that in your class as a point of starting up your conversation in class, no? Kaya ang Google form pwede mo na siya i-send way ahead of your session, and then ano din mga response. And pwede na ba ni siya i-send kahit sa Messenger, 'di ba po? So, I'd like to share that some of the practices of our architecture and engineering, no, ilang mga estudyante, para pag-start din sa class and even now that they're doing remotely, gina-discuss nila sa mga estudyante, no, class attendance, submission of requirements, policy concerning exam, nga dili pod nga dapat pareho pod sa university, no, pareho og guidelines, but ginaklaro nila diri sa mga estudyante ang ilahang ano, no. So this is from the College of from the Architecture Department. I'm sharing this with you. And then ginapasulat nila ilang mga estudyante. Sa ako ang class, similar ing ani, so gina-discuss nila ni kay ani ha, Policy concerning make-up exams. Diba in a department, some of us strict kaayo sa deadline. No, in the past, no, especially itong no, face-to-face pa ta. Grabe kita kas ang uban sa ato, grabe ka strict. Napoy uban kay pasahan lang silang mga estudyante kung ready na ilang mga estudyante. So ang nahitabo is mura kag tig check murag ana. So kung dili ta pareho og practices sa department, murag some of us murag salbahe, some of us ana, so murag di ta pare-pareha tanan og value. So ang gibuhat sa architecture day, sit down pareho ta, kung ga-minus ta every late ba minus tang tanan, walay ka nang murag ano no um, dili siya ano concerns exam requirement deadlines, because because pare-pareho mata og values on how we're developing future architect uh, no in this department. But of course medyo ang uban ani relax a bit because of our remote learning this time. But in your department, did you do this? My next question. This is my what I call learning contract for my class, whether it's undergrad or my graduate school. So akong medyo i-zoom ha. In my class, per date po naami ko ano naami activity. And then unsa nga adlaw ga quiz kay dili ko gapang purat no, unsa na mga adlaw na ay ano, because my class is it's a workshop model, and then kanus sila mag-present, kanus ana ay quiz, kanus ako mag-discuss ana na particular topic, kanus ay submit ang innovative. So wala pong gulatan. And then on the first day I'd say everyone look at this, and if kaya please drop. Please do not drop kung kaya. If feeling ninyo you're not ready for this, pwede pa mag-drop, no? Para wala pong sanay. Maraging ana. And then I'll tell them, I'm giving you this particular learning contract so you would know kanus amo absent. And because they know what to do for a certain date and for a certain session, I really have 99% of my students coming to class, no? My undergrad. So usually I put there, of course, your instructor may alter the schedule during the semester as she see fits. That di man sa nagitatak sa bato, no? Kanay usay makalit lang declare holiday, makalit lang o kanang dili kay nila mag-get ang concept, so we are adjusting a bit. But the message is there's a plan for every session. And then ay mga ana no, and then mo perma. I acknowledge that I have read and understood that the above are the contents of the Edu 61 course. The course requirement and grading criteria were explained by my instructor. I understand that it is my responsibility to check the requirements and dates of quizzes and examinations for the completion of this course. So for the remote learning, what we do is they will use a Google form and then they write your name as an acknowledgement that you have read and understood. So also in my graduate school, because I'm teaching PhD and senior high school, we have a course outline so they know when to submit the problem sets. So let's talk about the principles of effective assessment. And you have seen na klaro sa atong tanan na assessment should match with learning outcomes. There has to be three, the triangle: assessment, and the outcomes, and then your activities. They have to be related. The teaching learning activities are designed for you in order for our students to reach the intended learning outcomes. But of course, diri pa lang daan ato nang giplano. What should students nakabasa niyo po finally, Golda, hello, welcome. What should students know or be able to do as a result of the course? Yun ang una nato plano. And then let's talk about assessment. Morning ato ang gi-istoryahan karon is let's talk about the outcomes. Let's discuss about assessment. Kaya pa din ta mag-discuss unsaon ang mga activities, and that's why we also designed CDIO, which we maybe may come in the future. We will offer you that, no, the strategies for teaching. So outcomes-based education, or the OBE, is a framework that is you've heard about that, na medyo gyud og nganong gamiton ginato Why? Because we wanted to focus na una nato na di tanaw is look at the desired results or the intent exit outcomes. And then ay hata magtanaw sa strategies, processes, techniques, and the means, no? And that's why OBE implies that the best way to learn is to first determine what needs to be achieved. And that's why we work backwards. So dili pwede tong ganahan ko ani nga activity. Ako lang gini siyang i-fit ko whatever the outcome. Basta kay gusto ko ani activity, gusto ko maging ani mga estudyante. Una po na pangutana is, how do we know whether they learn? And what are the skills and the outcomes that they should demonstrate to you? What are those? And then we look at what are the strategies, what are the topics, what are the processes na ato ay facilitate for them to develop that so that when I assess, students will be able to reveal, no, what they know to us. So students is at the center of this teaching learning milieu, no. When we are designing assessments daw, think like an assessor, no, before designing specific units. How will we determine students have attained the desired understanding? So ano po bang mga outcomes and how will I know whether they have learned that? If I'd say my students will know the principles, yun lang po ba ang that they will know? How will I know that they know? Yun po ang pinakauna, no? So principle number 1, match assessments with learning outcomes. So there has to be an alignment. So what are outcomes again? They prescribe what students are expected to demonstrate they have learned. And what is an assessment? How they will demonstrate that they have learned. No? So principle po ng pag-assess nato sa mga estudyante is we match. So mga prinsipyo, kay ani man ang pangutana no ngano ganing ipatindog na to mga estudyante, ngano hindi na to sila pasudlon sa atong classroom. Unsa man mga prinsipyo na siya naka-anchor sa assessment. Mga anak gito. So there has to be some reason why we're doing things. That's why we have the principles, no? So when we are writing assessment, nganong kani because it matches the learning outcome. Second po, that we consider when we are creating our exam, measure deep understanding, performance, and content. Emphasis on deep understanding po, no? So if we expect our students to analyze, explain, criticize, differentiate, mga ano pong gagawin natin to be for us to know that our students learn? Maybe we'll ask them to illustrate, maybe we'll ask them to dramatize, maybe we'll ask them to criticize, mga ganun po, no? And measure deep understanding. So meaning that maybe let's consider this time higher order thinking skills, no? Did you know that there's a research na to ng mga college students think like grade 5? Ngano gani? Because some naana daw ko na to mga estudyante na they will be told and then the assessment will be to tell the teacher what was told to them. Parang ano lang, no, low order thinking. Mura bitaw ka ng tell me what I told you. Ganun po ang nangyari. So let us measure deep understanding. Performance also, measure performance and content. Just showing you that there are so many other taxonomies aside from Bloom's, but I will focus on Bloom's in the next segments, no? Mga ani na naadi ay siya'y lahi pod na kuan. So how will you measure performance here? What if the course outcome is students will apply management theories, methods to various types of organization? So the task is, maybe the design task nimo is, then my students will propose social responsibilities theories and strategies and compliance action plan for a certain business. No? Ngano gani? Because your course outcome is to apply management theories. So unsa man ang task? Then there is going to be a proposal. Mura ganun. How about this? Unsa kaya ang performance task here? If the course outcome is to explain the functions of communication in development. Sa kay ang task here, ipa-create ka na kong diagram so that I will see that they can explain the functions of communication, or they will be, or I will ask my students to make a brochure or create a blog. Raging ana, no? So, second principle, measure deep understanding, not just knowledge, not just facts, no? Also use multiple measures, no? There has use of multiple indicators and sources of evidence of student learning, no? Of varying kinds. Dili lang po written, gathered at multiple points. Dili lang po during midterm lang o final. So what are these? These are observations, these are using multiple choice as well, essay, tasks, projects, and all that. No? So vary also our assessment methods in various modes. Mo ingon nato no, pwedeng electronic, pwedeng lab, pwedeng work, pwedeng presentations, and pwedeng portfolio. Although we're kind of limited this time because of our pandemic, it's also nice na ay written, na ay objective type, na ay performance, mga ganun, no? So multiple measures dapat, no? Dili lang isa ang way. And of course, use appropriate methods and techniques. And assessment has to be practical. So the amount of assessed work should be manageable, meaningful, and sustainable. Dili jud ko usay mag-guilty no, usay dagan kay kog ano no kanang problem sets. Then maglisod na dayon because ang punto is I wanted to also really determine whether they're learning a particular skill. Pero usay, it's also not practical to me, no? Usay, it consumes me. So, kung halos imong weekend, nag-check na lang papel, nag-unsa na, then you will have teachers who are not happy, kaya man na balance in life. So, again, siguro ano lang, no? Assessments that are manageable, meaningful, and sustainable po. And then inclusive, no? Very allow us to emphasize, especially during this remote time, na remote learning na setup, na sana po the tasks and the procedures do not disadvantage any group or individual. No, of course, without compromising academic standards. So I have colleagues here, particularly Sir Arvin, nakashare siya in one of our webinars. Ang uban na mga estudyante, draw, kaya namin mga gadget. Ang iyang isa ka estudyante, he wanted to determine whether na-develop ang skill. Because the skill and the outcome is the most important. Drawing sa gipicturan, ang uban, submit sa e-portal. Kanina estudyante, well, I will see nga iyang gidrawing, diagram, unsa, gipicturan, gisend sa messenger. So, tasks and procedures that do not disadvantage any group, or maybe we can have kind of flexibility without compromising academic standards po. Murag ka na bitang igna na to may estudyante, sige daw, shoot ani na ball, shoot diri sa kanina goal be, shoot siya no. Di man gid siya ka shot. Sige daw balhin daw dito daw na area. Dini daw kuno be, sulay. But did we lower the goal? No. We adjusted the tasks, but the same standards. Pwede pong ganun, no? Method should be suitable to outcomes being assessed. So if you wish your student to think critically and make judgments, then eto po yung mga assessment methods, mga report, essay, journal, letter of advice, no? Write a newspaper article, mga ganon. If you want your students to solve problems and develop plans, mga kailangan mag-review, mag-analyze data, maybe you can give this, no? Problem scenario, group work, work-based problem, prepare a committee of inquiry report or draft, analyze a case. I like analyzing a case, no? And if you want your students to perform procedures and demonstrating techniques, pwedeng computation, no? Mga ganon, then maybe you can ask your students to do role play or make a video, especially this time, no? Produce a poster, lab report, prepare an illustrated manual, pwede pong ganun because this can be done remotely. So again, methods and techniques have to be appropriate and it has to be practical. And last of our principles of effective assessment is that our tools should be valid and reliable. Meaning that kani ba na exam, consistent and stable ba ang result if kwaon niya karon, kwaon niya po niya ugma, or malate ba siya take og exam, same pagyapon, more likely the same result, then this exam is valid and reliable. Pero ang uban mingon basi naka-study. If if mausab iyang grad iyang score kay naka-study siya, maybe we are only assessing knowledge or facts lang. Okay, masadihan man to. Pero if skills ang gi-measure sa ato ang exam, um, it should reveal whether skills are there or not. And that's what we mean by valid and reliable. And that's why our entrance exams have to be of high reliability and it has to be valid. Why? Because we're making decisions. Diba? Dili pwede na kanang gamay yung exam karon kay wala siya sa mood. No, if the skill is there, the skill is there. If it's not there, it's not there regardless of the circumstances, no? So na ay mga procedure for our teacher-made test to be valid and reliable as well. Na may mga statistics na mugawas karon when we are making when our students are taking the e-portal exams, no? And of course, let's measure what we supposed to measure, no? So this exam should measure what it is supposed to measure. And that's why ginatanaw pud siya sa mga department chair, because the department chair and the academic head, they're looking at if it is really aligned to the core syllabus, if it is also measuring what is supposed to measure. So these are sana po the principles that we hope you consider, so that when we are doing any assessments, then it's anchored on the principles po. So there's going to be a 10-minute sharing. Please meet other new faculty, no, in the breakout rooms. Everyone, because you're sharing, please turn on your video po, no? So in 10 minutes, you will be sent to a breakout room. Mga pila gani sila kabuk, sir? 10 in every room? Mga 8 mo kabuok in every room. So when something is flashed on your screen, join the group, please click that, or some of you will be automatically led to a group, no? We want you, or we hope you share what do you think should you suggest for your department to consider in terms of assessment. I've shown you what the Department of Architecture have done, and in terms of para-pareho sila sa assessment, no? Like for example, setting deadlines, mga ganun, or dealing with late submissions, whether it's new normal or the old normal, mga ingana, mga how do you handle incomplete work and tasks? And is there going to be an orientation also at the start, and pare-pareho ba ta para di pud maglibong mga estudyante? So sharing lang po on pwede ding maghugot, no? Di man to recorded ang breakout session. So in 10 minutes, and then there's going to be something to be flashed on the screen, mga if it's going to be 1 minute to go or 1 minute left, and then we come back to this plenary. Okay po, everyone? Sige, are we ready? Can I see in the chat if everyone's ready for the 10-minute sharing? Share lang gud mo dito. Dili na kay dili kaayo grabe ka formal sharing. Cheka ang pero di man ako ibutang din ang checkan. Checka time with colleagues and meeting other colleagues as well. Okay? We're ready. Thank you for telling me that you guys are ready. Let's start. So if there's something that is flashed on your screen, the host is inviting you to join breakout room. Please click join. You can start. everyone? We still have 51 participants who are not in the room.
Sir Carl, ano kabali ko?
Welcome back. We're just waiting for a few of our participants to come back, ha? Okay? Kamusta man ang inyong session? Murag nakasulod mo ko sa session nga walay mo tingob. Bit amazing, sabi ni Sir Glenn. Naka-check ka mo sa inyo bang room kung asa mo ni sulod na ay nag-check ka? Kay murag lisod gidi ay kay nang walay mo initiate ba?
Tulo
Yes,
rami
Dok,
nag-check.
nakachika rami, Dok.
Tulo rami nag-check ka, ma'am. Out of 40.
Nakachismis ra.
Sir Ma'am Josephine, uy, ka nice kayo sa inyo. You had a good sharing. Say hello to Ma'am Joy. Wala, jud mi nag-check ka. Ngano ka ha? Ma'am, hinay kay signal diri. Okay, no?
Wala mi na-check ka, ma'am, kay wala ni Pasi.
Mansa-ansa?
Wala mi na-check ka, kay wala ni Pasi. Maulaw tanan.
Lagi, anak, manggudnaw na. I was thinking na naagi
Ma'am, walay tingog, ma'am.
Mo, ma'am, at least naitulo.
naitulong nga nag-check ka. Ngano ka
At least 40.
Say mahima. Nga naman lagi kung ang uban sa tuwa kay kung naaatubangan sa mga estudyante kay ma-checka kayo pero kung kauban na gani ang magstorya na gani sa colleagues, dili na dayon, shy na dayon. Sa baka, Sa baka, is it because afraid kayo ta na ma-judge ta sa itong mga kauban? Sana will develop that na pwede di ay ma-check ka lang. Total, lang man siya, sharing. Di man siguro nilumpa kinsa kinabright. Naalay mo initiate. Naalay maulaw ang uban. Ang uban nice kang sharing, sana all. Ang uban kay hilong kayo lang room. There, nice kayo daw sa room 3. Ay, sana all. Dobi ang ubang room. Nakasulod ko sa room 2. Wala ni tingog tong wala ko nagtingog. Ba? Thank you sa room 7. Mo nang gingon ako always ako mga estudyante. Sana you are a blessing to the group. Kay kung kung walay mag-initiate, walay mo check ka. Murag room 3 and room 7, asa kang uban? I forgot my room number. Pero nice man kaya, Ma'am Maria Luz, yung mukhang grupo. Tapos room 6. Okay. The best good ako nung nasa mga room 1. So nice, no? Thank you po. And sana po padayuno nato nina, even if enjoy the convo. Ay, sana niabot dito ko, no? Good. Pero salamat po sa mong room 2 kay na nag-share si Sir Mark, si Ma'am Dayan from ME Department and all that. So kailangan lang siguro i-warm up gamay ba? Mga ingay-ana, nga kuan. So let me proceed po. You can use the breakout room sessions with your students, no? Usahay kami kay sa senior high, pag breakout na mo kay uno man mi ka teachers, ito na mo So but we can also assist in if you wish to know how to do that in Zoom, no? Okay, so let's proceed. So meaning that we had that plenary, but the next is workshop. I'd like to also ask, na there are mga 40 people who did not join the group. One, it is possible na we saw this last time, na ay mga laptop or na mga gadget na walay ga-flash sa ilaha na join the group. So that could be. Ikaduha, naalang gid siguro sila diri nag-under ang ilahang mga laptop or makita na mo diri ilang account pero wala di ay sila dan. Or nag-multitask na sa other sessions may ana. Sana po dili masayang ang resources sa university na murag naalang mo diri sa attendance pero wala man gid ay nakuha ang kanina training. So sana po let's just participate po, no? Naami mga 30s or 40s na nabilin dadto sa plenary na wala gid sila ni click, meaning walay tao diha sa kuan. Either dili the flash because we also had that problem with So salamat po for those who participated and sana po kay ra ba ang uban sa tuno istrikto kay sa tong mga estudyante. Dapat mag-participate, dapat magkuan din. Kita di ay inani di ay ta sa when we are also in a session. But anyway, let's proceed po. No? So again, when we are dealing, we determine the outcomes. Kung ito una, no? We select and design the assessment methods. So outcomes first, okay? Let me just show you that sa pag-construct sa tong curriculum, we started with university-wide learning outcomes. That's why you came up with graduate attributes, may ana, no? And then ninaog siya sa ito ang program. So naatay gitawag og program, educational objectives, and program outcomes. And why are we going to focus on course or subject? Because yun po ang inyuhang own nga ano no, inyuhang control, no? Wala mo may control sa program outcomes o program education outcomes because that's processed with our ano no stakeholders. So I like this picture because again, the instructional designer or us in the program is really focusing more on the learning outcomes, no? If you notice, ito po yung ginamit natin, no? We had a university mission and then ginaog siya until our subject, no, or our course. So emphasizing again that we were moving backwards kahit mula sa institutional, no, and this is also the framework that we follow. This is from CHED, no, gikan sa institutional we had ano no katong mga graduate attributes, and then we had program outcomes, and then we mapped that, no. I'm sure you've seen your map, and then imuhang subject na dayon. So, eto ba ang ginamit nyo sa core syllabus? Ngani man ko, no? Ang pinaka, ano lang na core syllabus is, pinaka updated is dapat na ay ISO din hinga part. Okay? But this core syllabus, I helped, I proposed this when our president, Dr. Cultura, was the Vice President for Academic Affairs. So we were a team in coming up with this, but this part is the template and giunsa because we were ensuring that OBE will be applied. So kani nga mga part ng mga pula-pula ako naghimo ana, no. Mga ingana. So unsa gini ang naa sa course syllabus? You notice na may mga course description. This is the PEO here. And then these are the POs. And then you have your course outcomes. Kaning PO that is within your, that is not within your control, but your course outcomes, your subject should match the program outcomes. No, unsa gani ang PEO para makabalaan lang nato na unsa na siya. Now, these are broad statements that describe the career and professional accomplishments that the program is preparing the graduates to achieve within 3 to 5 years of graduation. No, these are program educational objectives are based on the needs of the program constituency. So if you notice, kani nga part dere is naa dito inyong program, inyong departments, educational objectives. What the students will achieve 3 to 5 years after graduation. Unsang sa ng PO? They specify what students are expected to know or be able to do by the time of graduation. So, after pag-graduate nila, we have program outcomes. Unsa na sila? These are of course statements, no, on what students are able to do by the time of graduation. So, naa dito'y engineering students should have the ability to communicate. That's a program outcome, no? And if you've heard about CQI, the continuous quality improvement na gikabisihan karon sa atong department chair, they are creating something to determine unsaon man sa nato pagkabalo nga they achieve that. Kaya dili naman ni siya chika diri, no? Dili lang man ni siya chika nga naani. So if you notice, our program outcomes are several. Ang uban sa inyo, engineering department, A to M, A to L, and some of those are dictated by some agencies as well. And of course, aligned to our mission. Kaning PEO na to, mga around 5. Your course outcomes, ikaw nagsulat. We are going to talk about unsa dapat na align, unsa i-consider of course outcomes. So for this particular session, after I discuss, you will be able to write your course outcomes. Okay po? Then you email it to us, your course outcomes po. Okay? So unsa man sa ng course outcomes? Again, PEO, students' ability 3 or 5 years after graduation. PO, upon graduation, what they are able to demonstrate. No? So if you notice, there is atong course syllabus na ana siya. Okay? So, natay mga different levels of assessment, but our focus, because we are all faculty, is on our course level, meaning our subjects level po. Okay? So, for this session, once again, it's going to be the workshop output is course program. You write your course outcomes, 3 to 5 course outcomes, and then some sample topics and unsa ang iyahang intended learning objectives. Okay? So, but the workshop output of 1 and 2 should go together when it is submitted to us. Okay? So, yung aning ang dating sa to ang course outcomes, we write our course outcomes here, and then we match it, we map it with our program outcomes. Map with the program outcomes, meaning when you write your course outcomes, right here kung asa ba siya na map, no? Let's say for example, so importante po nakabalugi kay taon sa ang mga program outcomes sa ato ang departamento, because ang kada subject po naa siya, ang kada subject or course naa siya role in coming up with in achieving the program outcomes. So say for example, ang imuhang subject, let me just say if I have here, imuhang subject, katong nagmap bitaw ta, imuhang subject is, let's say for example, thermodynamics, o kabalunsan, thermodynamics 1. Ang ingon niya dito is, dapat D siya sa program outcomes nga ability to design. And then naapo din dito nga kani nga subject nimo is dapat D siya sa ability to design. No? Imong subject is mapped to a program outcome, and if it says D, ability to design baka ha, then kanang imong subject should make sure that students will demonstrate ability to design. Okay? However, pag-create nimo sa imuhang course outcomes, kay ang imuhang subject is matchman is nakamap dito na ability to design. Say for example, ability to design is A, then kani imong mga outcomes should also have a D on the program outcomes. No? Kay ano man kaya para dili siya gakawala. And so akong pangutana, so ang program outcomes ba something that we're familiar? So kana no, isa na siya, pwede man na siya pangayoon sa department chair so that you can align the course outcomes there. No, kay later on kasi dito sa curriculum map, mangayo man din ang department chair o ang dean o can you show us an evidence nga nakuha ni siya sa imuhang sa imuhang mga estudyante na ilang na demonstrate ni as nga program outcomes. So alignment is very important, no, so that we can give evidences. Okay, so that it will also be used to redesign our curriculum. Kay katuman siya ang maghatag sa ato og mga data, no, nga ang mga estudyante ba or naabatay mga redundant na mga subjects or naabatay pang delete na mga courses or naabatay pang drop na mga outcomes mga ingana. So this is the itsura of your of your course syllabus, number of hours, course outcomes, ILOs, topics, and all. So basically, your program education objectives, tulungan unsa gani itong PEO 3 or 5 years after graduation. These are the accomplishments and what your students are able to do 3 or 5 years after. So ginag-trace gyapon to kung nga-achieve ba ni nila. And we have all our efforts are geared towards making sure our students demonstrate those outcomes, no? How about program outcomes? Unsa ganitong PO? Statements of which what our students are able to do upon graduation. So usually A to M, A to J, mga ganun, no? But the course outcome is the ones within your control that you need to write and you need to design. So, unsa man ang mga course outcomes? Usually, 3 to 5 per subject. And unsa man pud ng mga. So, in every course outcome, na kay may student should be able to diagram, ana lugar, no? Unsa na mga topics ang iyang i-build, ang imuhang i-discuss para ma-come up nila ning course outcome. So kaning kada topic will have intended learning objectives, no? So that students, no, kani siya mga building blocks so that your students will demonstrate this outcome, which will lead you to this program outcomes, which will lead them to come up 3 or 5 years upon graduation. So again, unsa ginang course outcomes? They refer to the knowledge, values, and skills all learners are expected to demonstrate at the end of the course. At the end of the semester, ano pong maiba sa inyong mga estudyante for this particular subject na inyong gitudluan? Ano pong mausab sa iya? Kaya kung maingon po, at the end of this, my student should be able to think critically, ma-think critically, magyamon sa pikas, ma-think critically, so unsa gid kaha ang lahi ani na subject nimo? What is going to be different? What exactly are those non-negotiable outcomes which we are going to call course outcomes that's only learned in your subject? And then natay gitawag ILOs, no, katong kada topic, they may result from a specific lesson. Although it is sometimes used interchangeably with course outcomes, no? Thus, in the hierarchy, learning outcomes are seen as building blocks towards course outcomes. So, naiusahay, mabasa ninyo sa other references, intended learning outcomes or intended learning objectives, mga kuan. So, ano siya, no? Or usahay course outcomes ang tawag nila sa ilahang ILOs, but in our university, our course outcomes, no, we have 3, and then ang kada topic na ay mga objectives or mga intended learning outcomes. So so I'm just showing this. So mga ingani ang dating, no, when we map, look at this, no, di ba i-map man nato ning ato ang course outcomes with the program outcomes. Kung maglista ko course outcomes, asa ni siya na-align sa program outcomes sa amuang department? Okay? So, just showing a sample for syllabus sa electrical circuits. No? Ang uban na ni na-improve na. So, mag-write, unsa gani ang course outcomes? What students will demonstrate at the end of your subject, at the end of the semester. No? So, naa sila 4 lang, course outcome. But students should be able to apply per phase analysis. Pero ingon siya, sa kanina at the end of the semester na course outcomes, ang ma-demonstrate gyud nga program outcome ani is kaning naa sa F. So unsa ka nang naa sa F? Designing per phase na ana. Tapos siguro introductory running naa sa I, ang kanang naa sa L, kanang naa sa N. Then kanina yung letter B nga outcome, kaning akong course outcome iyara nang i-enable. So I'm just showing this to you para po makabalutan na dili lang na siya decoration diya sa ato ang course syllabus. No? Kanang kung ato gini siyang tinudon, naay mga role ang kada usa sa atoa in terms of ensuring that the kind of students is developed, no, by unsa nga klase na estudyante, unsa nga klase na skill tanan taga-contribute adto by the time they graduate or even if they are 3 to 5 years from our university. So, unsa maning F, asa man na siya, naa dito nakabutang sa ato ang course syllabus. No, I think PEO ang sunod ato kay program outcomes man sa ato ang course syllabus. So, sa dito ang letter A, letter B, ana. So, if it says here, students will design something, and in this subject, i-demonstrate gid na niya. Isa sa mga problema diri is kung kani nga subject, no, kay naa may another document that per subject gimap siya sa program outcomes. Dubig kani imong subject na electrical circuits 3, nag-ingon siya dito nga kani nga subject is D gina siya diri sa letter G. Meaning kani nga outcomes i-demonstrate with ani nga subject. But kanida yung pagsulat na nimo sa syllabus is wala man lang nag-match dato sa unsa gyud ang curriculum map. So we can also check that, no? And that's the reason why we are asking our new faculty, our COS, our part-time, na you also have a role in ensuring that the program outcomes are demonstrated by your subject, no? Or through your subject by our students. Okay? So those are samples. Okay? So nana dayon tay for each course outcomes ato na siyang ato na siyang gi-enumerate for each course outcome naa dayon tay mga topics. Okay, na mga topics. Okay, and then naa day intended learning outcomes. And of course, unsa ang strategy, unsa dayon ang assessment. So these are samples, no? Of your program out kay dinhi sa atong syllabus, di ba? After the PEO na din mga PO. And then for every course outcome na ay mga topics that builds to these course outcomes. And then kaning every topic unsang iyahang ILOs or intended learning outcomes. So if you notice kaning intended learning outcomes very small ang scope, no? Students should be able to apply Ohm's law. They should be able to explain current voltage. So these will build up the skills so that your students can demonstrate these course outcomes. So unsang sa course outcomes kay mao ra ba ang workshop at the end of this segment. These are learning outcomes at the subject level or at the course level, 3 to 5 per course, no? Must be a coherent set that captures the essential outcomes of the course and dapat dili redundant po. Dili pwede na parang ang permero kaduha kay mura ga overlap, no? Per outcome, no? The outcome can be assessed. There are things you can't assess, no? Like students should be able to appreciate nature. Students should be able to be familiar with unsa. Unsa man yung pag so terms are very important and the level must be specified. So the course outcomes must contribute to attainment of the program outcomes. So your course outcomes is mapped with your program outcomes, no? And of course, your ILOs, they are statements that specify what learners know or are able to do as a result of a learning activity. So some of the kanang at the end of a session, unsa gyud ang ilahang student is able to perform that particular style or student is able to explain Einstein's theory of relativity, mga ana, no? Again, ILOs will build up course outcomes 3 to 5 per subject that is aligned to an achievement of program outcomes. And of course, please check how your subject is mapped in your curriculum para po na ay consistency. So, question po, asa po diri sa 1 to 10, please use the chat box. Asa po diri sa 1 to 10 ang CO? Pwede ko mangutana sa 2 minutes. Asa po CO dire na sure mo pagka-construct nga course outcome gid siya. Sige po. 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. Mura dahan ka vote sa 8, 5 og 7, 5 og 7. 5, 7, 10. 5, 7, 10. Okay. 5, 7, 9. Okay. Sige, answer ta. Salamat po sa mga nag-answer. That tells us na medyo na tao diha behind the turned off camera. Thank you po. 7, 10, 5, 8, Okay. Okay. CO. 4 is a CO, design solution. Ngano gani? Is it at the end of the course non-negotiable? Imor yung subject nila ni makuha, dili siya redundant sa others. Pwede, no? How about number 2? Wala nagpili sa number 2 as course outcome. Because it's defined. Possibly, these are building blocks for them to so maybe ILO lang ang number 2. Maybe also number 1 is just an ILO. Number 3 could be a course outcome, but depende kung sa isumpay niya no? Meaning 3 course outcomes non-negotiable at the end mao gyud ni kani pong course outcome mao po gyud ni maka-INC sa may estudyante. Murag kung dili niya makita course requirement gid siya. Students will design. Students will present a proposal. Kana may ana bitaw? They will design and analyze test. Mga COs ng mga ingana, no? Number 10, appreciate the factors. Uy, di ba? Sing dili, no? Okay, number 1, how do you assess appreciate? Baka siguro if they appreciate, then they create a recommendation. Mga anak siguro ba? Number 9, understand the concept. Can we assess if they do understand? Pwede din hindi. No? Maybe you can rewrite number 9. But again, concept of per unit system, baka ILO lang din. Number 8, diagnose and repair. Depende kung sa nga subject. But that could also be a course outcome. No? Number 7 is a course outcome. Number 6 is a course outcome. Number 5 is a course outcome, but you may change the word exhibit understanding. Saon ka na? Unsaon nilang exhibit ang understanding? No, pwede nga. So, course outcome describes what the students will do differently as a result of the course. No, they describe meaningful learning. Again, is measurable, accessible, and again, very important, high levels of thinking. Rather than students will define, student will list, students will compare. Parang dili kaayo. At the end of the course, moro gyud na iyang kayanon, buhaton, and is written in plain language students can understand. So pwede pong mga ingani ka-powerful ang mga students will construct, students will create, will design, will develop, or formulate. Mga anak po, no? Will differentiate, will examine, will organize. Anak po, siguro ba? So some checklist, kailangan 3 to 5 lang yun. Dili po pwede isa rin mong course outcome, no? Na isa ka, may mga department na ingon sila isa ra gid daw. You can't find literature nga mao gid ang giingon sa OBE, no? There has to be balance between practical and theoretical understanding and should not overlap. It should describe all the significant and essential learning, no? Kana bitong if at the end of this my student should be able to design something, my student should be able to formulate something, because at the end of this, these are not the non-negotiable. Kana bitong ini at the end of this, my students can't demonstrate this, then they fail. Murag ana ba? Then wala gid sila natunan. So let's critique. Which of this is a course outcome for an invite course? 1 or 2? First bullet or second bullet? That's nice. Parehas answer. Salamat. So the way I'm asking, is it also assessment? Yes. Meaning, sometimes in the class, you also ask, and this is an informal assessment, no? And formative, so that I will know, asa ko pwede mo paspas sa sunod. Thank you. Second, no? Number 1, mas klaro. Number 2, mas higher order thinking skill. Number 3, ma-assess siya. Okay? Students will learn to critically, how do you even assess that they learn? No, and maura lugar na ilahang ma-demonstrate at the end of this subject that they learn to critically. Lahi ra gyud ang number 2, no? Okay, how about this? Is this a course outcome? Okay ba ni siya as course outcome? Yes or no? Lindrell, Mayor, Dayan. Okay. Pwede. Pwede. Nagiuban, di ko sure, ma'am. Okay. That's nice. That's a good ano. Meaning, ganahan ko na may nga na, dili na ta afraid mag-respond din. Dito taga-graduhan dili. And of course, your students should also feel safe, no? Okay. Pwede. Ingon sila, pwede. Okay, my answer is also pwede. Pwede i-revise gamay. Okay. Ato tanaw niya, tanaw gani ang iyang mga required skill, analyze, mag-design, mag-implement. Baka po na ay isa ka maka ano. When we say by the end of the course, the students will implement algorithmic solutions, apil na ba diha nga naka-design na siya, naka-analyze? Basin po apil naman yun diha sa students will implement algorithmic solution. Naka-analyze na o naka-design na sa solution. Diba? So, yes, sabi ni Ma'am Arlie, no? Meaning na, kanang, si tawag ani, kanang, let's not load it with a lot of verbs. A verb that captures what students will demonstrate and also must be powerful enough. Okay? So when we are doing that, again, in the process of assessment, we collect, we judge, we revise, no? And then, mo gid ni siya ang ato ang punto diri sa OBE, no? It's a method of curriculum design and teaching that focuses on what students can actually do after they are taught. And one of those is mapping your PO and PEO, your CO to your PO. That's part of the process of your outcomes-based education framework. No? So basically, we always ask, what do you want students to learn? So you write in your code, gusto nila ma-learn din ani nga subject. Kung ang ma-learn nila diri o ang ma-learn dito speakers pareho lang, pwede delete ang subject po. Why do you want them to learn that? And how can you best help students learn that? So motong outcomes, balik dayon ta sa unsa ang mga strategies, unsa mga activities na will nga para ma-develop ang skill para pag abot nimo sa assessment kuan no kanang they would be able to demonstrate. And how will you know that they learn that? So, your workshop output 1 is individual for 10 minutes. Not 10 minutes lang sa because later in the afternoon, we are not going to have a formal session, but sana inyong tiwaso. No? But what I want you to do is get your syllabus, look at the course outcomes, and reflect on it, and revise it if you must. No? Mga ingana po. And then, look at your topics and look at the intended learning outcomes. Maana. Okay po? Sige po. 10 minutes po, parang uban maka-CR pod. But look at your course syllabus and see the mapping po. Okay po? Sige po. 10 minutes. Tanaawa lang. And then later on workshop output 2, we will ask you to look at the level of thinking required in your course outcomes. And then that is the ones required for submission. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes to look at your course outcomes, your course syllabus, check out your course outcomes and how it is stated, critique it, no? Rewrite it, and write on MS Word. And then submit it to us so that we can check the workshop outputs po. Sige, I'll give you 10 minutes ha. Hello? So naano po ba na tanaw ang core syllabus? I'm sure na mo gitay core syllabus tanan, no? Natanaw po ba? Unsa pa inyong na-realize? Pwede pong PM, pwede ba kung i-PM? Salamat, Mamayla. Hindi ko pwede i-PM. Ano pong na-realize nyo? Any thoughts? Pagkakita sa course outcomes? Sir Alvin, salamat. Na ay kulang. Aha. Salamat, Ma'am Ruthie. No, pwede man nga no, kulangan course outcome or ang pagkasulat sa kung course outcomes unsa ba? No? Pwede po. Need to revise. Salamat po. Ma'am Maria Luz. Of course, no, kita gani, perminti, magani ang tatagta mag-revise every, ano, no, kada sem, tanaw na to kung naabagi ma-improve. Even our topics, di ba? Natin tayo ipang-delete nga topics, na tayo mga topics na ipang-merge, mga ingana. Ano pong mga thoughts sa iba? Natanawan po ninyo yung mga core syllabus? Hindi po bang hangyo na as we go through, ano, good? Yes. Salamat, Ma'am Dayan. Need to revise for me as well. Okay. Salamat po, Ma'am Joy. Sir Ferdinand, Mark, Josephine. Need to improve. Kailangan changes, no? Sabi ni Angel. Sige po. Good. And did you know na when we conducted this also in the Sir Glenn? Yeah. Normal na siya, Sir Glenn, na mga kuanha, mga realization when we conducted this must be improved. Kung nakaingon mo nga, dapat before unta pagsugod, of course, no, naatay mga circumstances na pag-start gid sa OBE, na amin, no, naay gamay si ATL dito, then of course, I was assigned 3 years in the student affairs, you know, wala me. Then karon pa mi nagbalik og kuan. Okay? So kung naay sayo po gamay or murag unsa ba ni pagkasulat or yes. Po ha. Sige po. Salamat kaayo. May ana. Let's proceed po for the next next session workshop. So yun pong ni-write ninyo na course outcome. So if you revise, sana po isulat po ha. Ano pong level of thinking ang required in that course outcome? It's very important, no, na ato ang matanaw ang ato ang mga course outcomes, no? If okay ra, Sir Sonny, that's good, kudos. This time let's identify the level of thinking, and mo proceed na po din ko na if this is the Bloom's taxonomy, in terms of level of thinking required for students to demonstrate their skills, it's the same thinking we also look into when we're creating our exam. Okay po? Sige po. Minor revision lang kay murag na ay tendency nga general statement. Yes. Very good realization, Sir Marjones, no? Ingana gyud, no, tan-aw gyud nato tong course outcomes, and ingana kung okay na ba gyud ni siya, align ba ni siya dito sa katong pag-map nato sa program outcomes, and kani ba nga subject nimo, unsa man ang iyang map dito, unsay naka-map ani nga subject dito sa curriculum, kung unsa iyang gi-promise dadto na iyahang ma-demonstrate, no? Very important. If medyo na ay murag nag-gap na, you can get the document from your department, no? Medyo mahaba-haba ani. Let's talk about Bloom's taxonomy. But at the end of this, the workshop 1 and 2 should be emailed to citl@ustp.edu.ph, CC po, Department Chair. Tomorrow po, we're going to flash kung kinsa po ang naka-submit po sa workshop 1 and 2. But we're also going to wait for you until ma-submit kasi we have directories sa tanang nag-workshops, no, kaning magud na session, no, kaning atong designing assessment is sa 2 days na face to face supposed to be, so we redesign it a bit nga ang workshops in the afternoon, so you have flexibility of time. So again, for this particular session, please write course, no, unsa nga subject, unsa na program, asa siya nga department na belong, and then please write unsa ang imuhang course outcomes. And this time, please also identify what level of thinking required. Give us a sample topic or topics, and give us also sample intended learning outcomes, and on what is the level of thinking required. So, what exactly are we talking about? Why should teacher classify outcomes there? So, Bloom's taxonomy is significant because it was the first attempt by educators to identify what learning is, how it happens, and how it can be classified. There are what you call HATS, no? Asa man dapit ang HATS, higher order thinking skills begins at analyzing, but you also find books na nagsugod siya sa applying. But para pareho tanan o pag ano nga lower order thinking yun ng remembering of understanding. But this is the ones that is called revised Bloom's taxonomy, no? Kaning ani verb ang iyahang kuan. But let us use muna we don't call this the old Bloom's taxonomy. We call this original Bloom's taxonomy because medyo mas popular ni siya o mas well accepted. The revised, which is gaining the popularity, no, and used by the educators, no. Question diri is lowest level is knowledge, ano nang pangutana, okay ra ba nga knowledge level lang akong mga item questions or akong mga outcomes, okay lang man, pero kung danha ra taman mauna siya ang problema, no. So let's talk about when do you consider na low level ang outcomes. Low level if the outcomes involves only remembering or recalling from specific facts. If you're asking your students to just observe, recall information, and all that is required is remembering facts, no, that is knowledge level. So if you're asking your students to list, define, tell, describe, mga ani lang na mga questions ang imong ibutang sa inyong outcomes or sa imuhang exam, then it's just knowledge level. Unsa gani, only involves remembering. Parang what was told to you, please tell me now. Maraging ana ba? So say for example, no, name all the steps of a scientific process. It's just asking our students to tell us what was read, what was told, what was discussed. So it's just remember, no, recall. So knowledge level. Kani maing ani, draw the microscope and label the parts. So when they draw, all they need to do, all the skills required is to bring to mind the appropriate information, no? Enumerate the different tools. So it's a knowledge level. So list, memorize, these are knowledge level. List, look at this. Nice, makaino. List the 5 possible pollution sources risks to water supply. It looks like nice kayo, but if it is discussed in the classroom, or found in the course module, then it's just knowledge level, bringing to mind the information lang. Define, enumerate the important events during the Villalobos and Legazpi expedition. These are just asking our students to recall, diba? And look at this. I wanted to emphasize this. Explain the major causes of various revolts against the Spanish. Explain the major causes. It looks higher order thinking. Explain. Pero kung ang explain the major causes is na-explain man ako sa classroom, nabasa man siya sa nakabutang dito. These are the explanation of the major causes. Then all the students need is to recall that, to bring into mind that appropriate information. So what are we assessing? We're only assessing the knowledge level of our students. Mga define, mga narrate, mga ingana, no? So some examples of course outcomes that are of the knowledge level are these. Okay? And this one as well. Outline, describe the processes, recall, define, mga ganun. Okay? So pag knowledge level po, ano pong kailangan na to? Only only recall. How about comprehension? Pag comprehension level po, what we're asking is, what we're asking our students is to demonstrate to us that they understand information, that they can grasp the meaning, they can translate knowledge into context and all that, no? So if you're asking your students to summarize, to describe, nga ganon, so these are just, keywords. Remember, these are keywords lang. So say, for example, differentiate between observation and an interpretation. Okay? Murag dapat, number one, students should know what is observation and should also know what is an interpretation or na ay mga definition adto. So if na ay mga definition adto, that means that means siya kanang say tawag ana knowledge, but this time differentiate. They have to look into the difference between interpretation, so it's grasping meaning of the material. So it's higher than knowledge, but are they applying a rule, a method, a law, a theory, a procedure? They're not yet applying something to a new situation. That's why this is not yet application. Okay? So kani mga ingani, classify terms. Agdumdumon ako unsa ang kani, then ako din tan-awon ni. So it's just comprehension whether I'm getting that or not. Okay? Mga ingani, no? Identify figure of speech. So, kabalo ko unsa ang figure speech, and then di masad na ko i-apply ang figure speech. There's just a figure speech, and I'll just determine if simile ba ni, hyperbole. Then so did the students grasp those concepts or the differences? Then I'll look at this given, then it's a comprehension. So unsa ang comprehension? Grasp, ability to grasp meaning of the material. Okay? So yun ang mga examples of comprehension. Ba? Okay? Sige po. So, unsa po ang knowledge? Remembering. Comprehension. It's recalling. No? There, may shinare shihoni na observational things we measure, what interpretation are the conclusion. And we derive from those, no, mga ingana. So, dapat masturyan is mga estudyante. And if they grasp that material, then they'll be able to say these things, no? Ma'am Sembahot. So, application. So, comprehension is remembering. So now we move to, when do you consider that your outcomes are considered of the application level, or your test exams, test questions are of the application level? If you're asking your students to use information, use methods, use concepts, use theories in new situation, not to solve the problems, no, using required skills, then you are asking, or you are requiring your students to demonstrate application skill. Sama sa mga ingani. These are some of the keywords, no? Convert systems of, so ano gani, na may proseso, correct use of facts, rules, or ideas, no? Add forces using the graphical method. So there's a formula to apply, there's a concept to use, solving the inequality. So if you're if there is a certain guideline to implement and apply in a new situation, then it's an application level. Okay? So some examples of application in some areas: construct a timeline, no? Construct a timeline. Apply knowledge of infection. So if you notice, pag make man og timeline, siguro man yata na i-remember, but na ay certain procedure and i-follow, then it becomes an application. Select an employee, show proficiency, mga ganun. No? Okay, so kung sa ganitong remembering, recalling facts, comprehension, grasping meaning, application, use of rules, procedures, law, method in new situation. And analysis is, it involves the ability to break down material into its component parts. no? May include identification of parts and analysis of the relationship between parts. Okay, just to give just to emphasize, no? Let's say for example, okay. Explain how distinct environments throughout the world support the life of different types of plants. Saan kanisa itong mga estudyante? Ano kahang analysis ni? Explain how distinct environments, no? So, desert, ice kayo ng mga kuan, ana, kato na mga, so iyatong isa-isahon, pagkahuman, nganong kanina type of plant kay mabuhi ra siya diri, kani pud kay mabuhi ra diri, kani ug unsa man day ng ilahang differences, kay analysis is recalling naman siya sa ibabaw, mag-recall, maka-grasp na ko, maka-apply na ko, and this time I'm breaking these things, no, and seeing relationship of these things, no, the different types of plants and unsa na distinct environment lang sila pwede maingana. So if you're asking your students to do this, to appraise, to categorize, to contrast, to discriminate, to examine, then you're asking your students to analyze. Okay? So say for example, use the valence shell, electron pair theory to predict, no, ano man, because it involves recognition of the organizational principles that is involved. How about this? Kani kay basta para kita tanan maka-relate. If you're going to ask your students to compare and contrast Hinduism and Buddhism, dili raman na sila moingon og Hinduism pag belief kanang practice by Hindu and Buddhism by the Buddhist, dili lang man na ingana, di ba? So, unsa may buhaton sa may estudyante ani, no? Breakdown, no? Mag-analysis, if I'm gonna put it in a hand gesture sa mga estudyante, break down materials into its component parts. Meaning, sa Hinduism and Buddhism, unsa po ang kailangan? And they'll look at the religious practices, they look at the customs, they look at unsa pa ba culture, they're breaking it down and they're comparing, no? So break down the parts, no? And see relationship between parts. Okay? So this requires a lot of thinking, and sana po ito yung the kind of course outcomes we are requiring our students to demonstrate to us, including in the exam. No? So illustrate the difference between pure substances and mixtures. No? Kanino, kadang sa mga kauban ako nga mga math, solve trigonometric equations using the appropriate methods. No? Analysis na gyud kung we are giving them a trigonometric equation and they can even determine which of the methods was, which of the methods were appropriate or was appropriate for a particular given. Given 3 Philippine stories, the student should be able to list the most 3 distinguishing narrative styles. To look at 3, break into parts, look at the most distinguishing, no, and of course, ang mga similarities. So that requires analysis from our students, no? The relationship between solutions of quadratic equations and intercepts, of a parabola, kaya usahay no, nakabox ang pagtudlo sa math, no? Like ang katong zeros of the quadratic equation, pag-abot dito sa graphs of functions, kaya dili na makonect sa mga estudyante na katong intercept dito is related sa quadratic equations. May no? So these are some of the samples of analysis in terms of the course outcomes. So, or mga questions in the exam that requires breaking down of parts or the analysis. Okay? So we will give this to you, man. So, so we're moving to the synthesis. We're moving to the synthesis. All right. So, memory. Sige po, mute everyone sa. Then mag-request. Okay. All right. So, kaya basin accidentally unmute ang uban. Okay. So, remembering is requires our students to recall. Comprehension, we require our students, or our students will show to us that they grasp meaning. Application, our students will use methods, laws, procedures, guides, no, sa paman, formula, to apply, to use that in new situation or new context. And kung sa gani analysis, when you are asking your students to break the materials into component parts and seeing relationships. And synthesis. Ang synthesis, ingani ang hand signal na para ma-remember that, no? Mura siya og gather all the concepts, gather all the data, gather all ideas to form something. So diri gyud mo ni siya nga creating ang iyahang keyword, no? Creating, use old ideas to create new ones, generalize from given facts, relate knowledge from several areas, and predict or draw conclusions. So some of the question cues when you are creating exams that require synthesis is when you're asking your students to plan, to create, no? You cannot create all the concepts, all the ideas, all the topics, all the skills, come up with one. When you're designing, when you're formulating, when you're writing an essay, when you're convincing, when you're formulating something, when you're creating a proposal, when you're writing a recommendation, when you're writing a plan, when you're creating a diagram, synthesis level. So that's the reason why synthesis is highest level sa katong new revised taxonomy, no? So say for example construct a letter to the editor of the PDI, understand whether Napoles is guilty or not in your own judgment. So say for example argumentative essay ang inyong big topic, but of course you use certain styles, grammar, unsa pa bakaha, and all that. So meaning all these concepts into one output, no? So you created this considering all the skills. So if you're asking your students to draw or even write an essay or poem or make a collage about life, naana rin dito ang makita nimo if they understand different concepts, then that's synthesis. Or kaning maing-ani, no? Make a community project plan. Tapos makita nimo kung nasabtan ba nila ang recycle, reuse, reduce, no, mga concepts that ruin the environment. So that's synthesis. Mga ani po, propose solutions to complex energy. And we wish po na mas daggan ing ani at the end, not at the end, but really yung mga non-negotiable outcomes of your subject, no? Okay. Okay. So analysis is breaking down, synthesis is forming to create a new one, no? And of course, evaluation involves the ability to judge the material, no? So if you are asking your students to assess, if you're asking your students to decide, if you're asking your students to recommend, to select, to judge, you're asking your students to really evaluate. Okay? So say for example, ang mga estudyante, no, they need to construct a generalization on the major causes. That requires knowledge, that also requires analysis, that also requires assessment of evaluation of what really happened. So that requires our students the skill of evaluation. Pero kung construct a generalization pero naa siya sa libro na mauning generalization na discuss nato na maunang generalization, that becomes knowledge level. So meaning kamo gyud ang maka-determine kung unsa siya nga level, no, not only the keyword. Usahay gwapa kay pagkasulat pero knowledge level lagi di ay siya. Evaluate the importance of interdependency. Evaluate the importance. So unsa man ang improve sa mga estudyante. Sa some samples of evaluation, assess the importance of key participants, evaluate marketing strategies for different electronic business models, and of course the instruction. Okay, course outcomes man siya, but the instructions will follow na dayon dito sa kung saan task. Okay, predict the effect of change, summarize the main contribution. Okay, nganong evaluation man ang summarize the main contribution? Kaya mag-decide ba man ang mga estudyante, no? Kung contribution ba gid siya or dili. Pero kung gi-istorya na siya dito na mao ni ang contribution, iyang giparo. It's not evaluation. So we always say that a good teacher makes you think even if you don't want to. Kana bitong sulod siya sa session, so wala man siya ano, but the way the students, the teacher asks question, it's really asking them, the students to think, then that's really a good teacher. So again, the original is using the noun and the revised is using the verb, and that's just the one of the difference, but there's so many, no? We're still using the original version, and but in the revised version, ang iyang pinakataas is creating, no? Okay, so I'm gonna give you another 5 minutes before I proceed to the next session. Can we all look at your course outcomes in your course syllabus? Course outcome, your course syllabus, when you write it, please write if it is analysis level. Course outcome number 2, is it synthesis level? Yan na. Because that will also help us determine, it will also help us know, mura man og knowledge level lang or ubos lang. So, can we have time to look at our course syllabus and also our exams and see if ano po ba ang required, required thinking that you're asking your students to demonstrate? Sige po. 5 minutes po. Pwede? So that we can have time to look at the course syllabus. Okay? So meaning, tanawa lang and then try po kung ano pong level. Did it require your students to demonstrate to you a higher level? Sige po. Please email po ha. I'm receiving actually some emails and okay? So nanay gasulod. Paspasa man. Ganahan ko kayo sa ato ang mga participants. Nasisi po ba ang department chair? Sige po ha, naanay ga-submit. Sana all. O Roqueta, hasaan. O pack na CC. Si Sir Bern. Okay. O Sir Greg na CC. Ang buutan kayo itong mga participants. Please email po and do take time to reflect. Okay, also again, you did not say the subject is supposed to be focus workshop, output 1 to 2. Okay, that's the email subject po ha. Email subject, email 2 and then the email subject is focus workshop so that maka-search po. Okay po? Sige po, salamat. Okay, so na ako yung mga preferences para makaingon pud mo nga wala entaw naglamlam ang CITL no dagan tagibasa, dagan tag website giadto. Okay, so for this session, it's going to be my last set of the segment. I don't know, constructing TOS and creating multiple choice tests. Well, focus on written tests and multiple choice lang because we have very limited time. And then siguro some of the handouts on short answer, completion, true or false essay. We'll just send it to you. Ano po ang multiple choice ang focus na to? One, because mo na siya ang gagamitin sa board exam. So if we can really create a good multiple choice item, then it's really, our students are good to go, no? Mga ingana. So what is TOS? And then we'll look at the written test. And then tomorrow we'll talk about other tests that is not written, no? And we call them the performance-based assessments. Okay? So we'll talk about, so for this workshop, so there are only 2 workshops na output for this, the workshop 1 and 2, and then the workshop 3 is the TOS. Okay? And we're not gonna ask you to give us the exam anymore, no? Kay katong during the face-to-face po, ang requirement po ng participants is they really create their exam and then they send it to their chair with the TOS and then ang screenshot lang ang gatanawan na mo kung na-send na ba. And their department chair are telling us that they're receiving it and it's okay, and then we check your workshop output. So workshop output number 3 is individual, no? It's creating TOS. Okay? Sige po. So question, why do we need a plan or a blueprint when we construct a building? Akong pangutana diri. Kung nag-construct ba ta og pig pen or some sort of a silong for a chicken, kailangan po ba tayo ng blueprint? Mag-construct og building, kailangan na may blueprint, no? Si Ma'am Leona, dili daw. Mas nga kang dili, ma'am. Kay basin sa yun, naman kay pwede ra sketch. A blueprint is not a sketch, no? Di man na siya sketch. So, do we need a blueprint? Okay, sige po. Now lang kakabalik, Ma'am Sherry. Welcome back. No need, sabi ni Sir Rico. So question, pag mag-create ta og building, kailangan niya ta ang blueprint, no? Kay mao man niya ta ng guide pag mag-construct. Kay basin kung wala mang blueprint, basi nalimtan ang CR. We just realized. Or sometimes mas dako ang lobby kaysa rooms kung building sa university, no? Pero bakit po hindi kailangan yun o blueprint kung chicken silong raman nga to ang gibuhat? Siguro kay pwede raman na sketch. Pwede, gamay ra po na niya mga specification, di po kaayo siya detalye. No? Yes, for Sir building, sabi Ma'am Josephine. Let me just bring this analogy. Ngayon, dili man ta kailangan mag table of specification kung long test, kung quiz. Because mura na siya og silong for the chicken, no, nga kanang gamay ri ang scope. Gamay ri ang scope, kabalo taon sa ato ang particular skill nga isa lang, not a combination of all the skills ang ato ang kitanaw. So that's the reason why we need a blueprint for for the exam. Okay, number one, it's comprehensive. Number two, we don't want to miss skills that we want to and then we wanted to see if we are really requiring high order thinking skill, no? So mga formative man, sabi ni Sir Julito, no? And Ma'am Angeline says, depending on the scope, siguro no need for blueprint as long as there's a layout that's like the silong for the chicken, no? Sketch or layout. So same analogy pag we're talking of quiz lang. Okay? So question is, how do we construct a TOS? Kaya gi-require maging siya sa tanan, no? And also, let's talk about guidelines in constructing the multiple choice test for after the TOS. So ano po, yes, Sir Marjones, need kita TOS, but if it is comprehensive, no? So what is exactly a TOS? It's table of specification. It's a blueprint for teaching and blueprint for the test, no? The weight is usually based on how much time devoted to teaching the concept. So the more time, the more pud siya nga kailangan i-assess dito sa exam. And the weight is usually given in percent. No, but you can use points, no, if you like. Okay? Usually out of 100, but not sometimes mo nang duha ang ilahang gi-separate sa uban, no? Multiple choice lahi to then that's written. But us, pwedeng in one final exam, one TOS, naana din dito ang part 1, part 2, meaning part 1 of the final exam is the written, part 2 of the final exam is the performance task or the demonstration or meaning ano. So in the TOS, there has to be a representative sample of the course content. No, it shows sample of skills, cognitive levels across content, and so that we can analyze results by level and content as well. This is the itsura of your TOS. Familiar po ba? It's also part of my job to create a template for this, no? Sa 2016. I'm looking at my phone and daghan na nag-submit sa focus workshop. Salamat po. But you still have time for later, no? Kung gusto niyo later pa mag-submit. Okay. I hope po na follow, no? Dili lang gikopya ang course outcome, nag-change gyud. Okay? So dapat po ang course outcome is also measurable. Okay? Pag sinabi po bang exhibit understanding, appreciate nature, again, medyo gidiscuss na to kaganiha, medyo tawag na kanang di mo siya ma-assess basing dapat klaruhon unsa gid ang inyong gusto ipabuhat sa mga estudyante. Okay? So table of specifications, so ganitong itsura or pareho ra sa DepEd. Okay? Sige po. Sige, let's construct. First thing that we should do, determine the topics to be included in the test. So, say for example, mag-test ko sa inyo karon, and actually because I'm teaching also assessment, no? In the graduate school and in the undergrad. So, what if mo ni ang coverage sa ako mga estudyante for a midterm? So, these are content areas, or in some universities or even in senior high school, they write not the topics, no, but the competencies or the outcomes. But kita, pwede na ng topics lang. So you write the topics on the leftmost. Ito po yung coverage ng inyong exam. So you check midterm. So ang question na sa inyong department chair is, mao ba gid ni ang coverage sa sa midterm or sobrara or mana siya, no? Sure, gamay man lagi. Pwede pa nga yung mga pangutana, no? So, we included them to be in the test. Second, determine po that hours allotted you spent for each topic. So, I wrote there my number of hours. So, question, 24. So, mangutana din ang ano, no? What if nakasulat diri kay 9 hours lang? So, di ba, 18 hours 18 hours, 54 hours, 18 weeks in ano in a semester. So so 54 hours or 18 weeks. 18 weeks minus 1 week for the finals minus 1 week for the midterm. You only have 16 weeks. 16 weeks divided by 2 is 8 times 3 hours per session, you have 24. So, tanawon lugar ni siya sa inyong department chair, sa ato ang muanha nga CHED, or sa ato ang accreditors, kung 24 ba gid ni siya. Tapos, niingon ka nga, pero di man ko 24 hours gid ga lesson. Gaano man ko? 24 hours or 24 sessions baka na nag-travel man ka, nag-ana, 24 gyapon kay even if nag-travel ka na aman ni activity, di ba? Those are still part of instruction. So dili say for example, na kay mga sessions nga wala ka ni ana gid sa classroom, no? So that's still session because that was part of the entire design that group work karon or may ana. So dili po pwede mo na og mga 3 hours ra kay 3 hours ra ka nag-klase. When we talk about instruction, we're not only saying lecture only, di ba? Okay, so number of hours. So I have 24. Then we compute the percentage of the allotted time for each topic. Okay, so how do we solve this? It's okay, we add. So we have 3 divided by 24 times 100, and that's 12.5. 3 divided by 24. They show that there. Okay, so it's number of hours allotted for the topic divided by total number of hours times 100. 3 divided by 24 times 100 is 12. And even if by just looking at this, kabaluta nga, this one took a lot of the time. No, kay napay mga exercises, napay presentation, na may mga ingana. So for my students to develop the skill, so dapat ako ang mga exam naapoy mga naagya po mga dako na part ana. Okay? And then next, we determine the percentage of the total items allocated for each level in the Bloom's taxonomy. Institutional ni siya, no? Kung mabasa ninyo, lagi hard and fast rule nga dapat 20% knowledge. Wala ingana sa mga libro. Kita gidyapon mag-decide. Question, di ba, ingon ta, we wanted to develop critical thinkers na mga estudyante. So kung critical thinkers, tapos kasagara sa itong exam diri kay 50% knowledge niya na or usahay gabutang og ingani kadagko pero ko itan-aw gini mga items kay knowledge raman gidi ay then kani siya gibutang nato because we are also considering our graduate attributes unsa na mga klase na mga estudyante atong gusto. Yan, no? So what we decided and what we agreed upon is for the knowledge level, ceiling 20%. Pero ma'am, pwede ba ko 10%? Better. Knowledge nimo 10% lang, di ba? Kaya medyo dito ka gusto na imong mga estudyante mag-analysis, mag-evaluation, pwede. So meaning, comprehension, ceiling 20. So what we're saying here is kanina ay mga ceiling. So say for example, 5 ni, of course, mudako ang naadin. Di ba? So what we're in the university, ceiling for knowledge and comprehension is 20. But it is not tatak na dapat yun 20 ang knowledge. No. Pwede ka unsa-unsa, but ceiling, not. So what we're saying here is that your low order thinking skills should only be 40%, not the majority. Maximum kung imo lang ganin ang i-max. And then we also consider application analysis as slash lang, no? Actually, pwede mo na ito na siya iunom, pero ang uban, no, even Bloom's, when you read, na ay mga salient ang application of analysis nga lisod kay ihiwa. No? So, we combine them, no? Naaga ni uban universities nga duha ra ka column, no? Low order, higher order. So, we also created our own, okay? So, Say for example, ako nag-max ko 20 diri, 50 diri, 10 din ha. Okay, ang uban kay baliktaron nila no, gi-create na nilang exam, mahi pa din sila nag TOS. Pwede naman siguro ingana, pero sana po let's evaluate also. So decide also the total number of items to be included. So mag-decide pila gani ka oras ang kailangan sa ang pag ano sa exam. 2 hours nya maana man din kuno 2 hours unya siguro 2 items lang ana ang essay, and then most ana is multiple choice. So in 2 hours, if you are creating a true or false multiple choice, the multiple choice is 30 to 60 seconds. A more complex multiple choice is 60 to 90. Mga ana gani, these are minutes that you consider for an average student. And then you decide, pila magig ka items. So say for example, I'd say 40 items ako ang exam, no? Of the 40 items, we compute for the allotted number of items per topic. So sa katong kaganiya, 12.5% man ang ako ang topic number 1. I'll multiply the decimal form times 40, and then I'll go 5 items. So times 40, that's 5. Meaning that the entire kaning topic, since it's only 12.5, dapat kanilang. Kani po siya, kana lang na items. No, usahay, di ba, kabantay ta, katong college pa ta. Usahay kay, kung unsay naa sa exam, kato lang, asa tong favorite na topic ni teacher. Or usahay, ang katong last part lang ang naa sa exam. Again, you said comprehensive. All right? Compute the allotted number of items for each of the levels in the Bloom's taxonomy. So, pila man yun ang knowledge sa 40 items. So, it's 0.2 times 40, that's only 8 items. So, we can control, no? 0.28, half of the 40, 20. So, then you will see na 24 out of 40 are of higher order thinking skills, no? And then, of course, after ana, we will complete the table. Sudoku na dayon ang dating. No? So meaning, isudoku na ko nino, 8 raman. 8. And then I'd go out of the 8 nga knowledge, atong tanaw no, dinhi murag mas makakonstruct ko diri og 4. Dinhi 2. Then diri nga mga topics, dili ko diri mag-knowledge. So, pwede nga naon nimo no, murag imo la i-complete sudoku, and then we'll see for this particular topic, I'll only have knowledge and comprehension here. And that completes my 5, no, for this particular topic. So therefore, I'll have 0, 0. So ang question diri, pwede di ay mag-0? Pwede, uy. Ikaw man ang ano sa field nimo, no? Ikaw ang expert in your field. Okay? So ingana, no? Pwede ba daw walay knowledge level? Of course. So ang uban na kay ilaning i-compute sa Excel 20% plus 7 tapos times kani 7 tapos unsa ang distribution ana. It's not how to do it. Dili man gud ni siya kanang kanang murara siya og it's an Excel sheet. It's your expertise plus appropriateness of the level considered as well. Okay? So that's how you do it in your So, question. Pakitanaw daw ko sa inyong TOS. Naamoy TOS din ha? Pakitanaw daw sa inyong TOS kato midterm. I think you were required. Also, your finals, you will be required. Usahay, dili mo i-require karon pero i-require siya sa clearance. Kay para file, and at the same time quality assurance, and at the same time if people come to question how our instructions are, check accreditation, parents, naagid tay ipakita nga everything we do are well thought out. So sila Ma'am Josephine, sila midterm. Okay? Sige po. Ang comprehension, ang knowledge po ba nila who's? Pwede po, Sir Jasper. Especially kung number of hours taught, 20. So, ang may tabo, whole number, gina imong percentage. imong number hours taught nimo depende sa ko. Pero anong ibutan na itong decimal so that we're more accurate. So dabi pag compute na ko ma'am kay 13.5 niya ang mumarka na kay 4.8. Ako bang i-round off a number of items to 5? Pwede pong i-round off kay wala may number of items na 4 and a half na item, di ba? So pwede na din ka mo decide whether it's round up or round down. Depende pa rin sa appropriateness. May I'd like to have more items here. Maraming anak. Okay? Sige po. Let's talk about how to construct multiple choice. This is going to be my last topic, no? But let's talk about unsa gid mga rules sa pag-create sa multiple choice. Teacher Amphi is preparing the test questions in an exam. What should she ask if she wants her students to demonstrate their skill to synthesize? So, para pareho lang kay istorya, no? Ang tawag nato aning question is a STEM. Ang tawag nato sa mga ang answer is what you call a key, and of course, the other options are what you call the distractors or options, no? So let's talk about some of the guidelines in creating a multiple choice. First guideline I wanna emphasize is really this: distractors have to be plausible. Distractors have to be plausible. When our students will look at letter A, dapat maingon siya o murag answer. Mo ni siya. Pagbasa niya letter B, dapat maingon siya murag kanino. Pagbasa niya letter C, kani man yata. Letter D, murag mauning answer. It's not that because kailangan nato libugo na mga estudyante, but the choices and the options have to be attractive, no, for those who do not know. Kay dapat man ang atong mga items maka-determine kung kinsa ginakabalo, maka-measure siya kung naka-develop yung skill ang mga estudyante. So it can also discriminate between those who know and those who do not know, no, na mga estudyante. Kung saan man nato pagkabalo kung pag-una pa lang nato pagkakita sa question is whether ang nakabalo or wala nagbasa, ang wala ga-attend sa mga session, wala nagbasa sa module, halata ra kaayo ang answer. So, we will not be able to determine who has the skill and who have not developed the skill. And if we don't have that data, there's no way we can redesign our strat or re-strategize or redesign our tools. Another, kung saan na to pagtabang sa wala na kakuan, no, or naglisod og sabot sa skill, kung glaring kaayo ang klaro kaayo ang mga answers. Tapos some of the teachers would say, pero ma'am, gusto man ko nga buutan ko. By all means, faculty, please be buutan. Ganahan mo itag mga buutan. Pero buutan in a way na sakto mga strategies, maayo pagka-facilitate ng mga activities, gi-develop ang mga estudyante, ang mga skills, gi-facilitate ang mga activities, but please do not manipulate the results of the assessment because we are assessing to determine whether they are learning. No? It's not that dili maayo pagka-construct ang atong assessment and then mulutaw nadagko kay gradong mga estudyante just because di man kaayo maayo pagka-construct. And of course dito na din magklaruha pag abot sa board exam. Diba? Sa board exam, man gyud siya? All the items are plausible, meaning they're attractive for those who do not know. Dapat ang nakabalugid, mo glaring lang ni siya sa mga estudyante kung unsang correct answer sa mga estudyante nga 1, they have learned, 2, they have developed the skill, they read the module and all that. Okay? So items have to be plausible. So items also should measure specified skills. So if you're testing creative writing, please do not use multiple choice. Now again, match as closely as possible to the actual activity you're teaching. Okay, so motong uban no, read the case and then use the methods, guidelines, or procedures, and then formulate suggestions using them. Looking at the challenges presented in the case. Pag abot din sa exam, kinahimong construct a case. Parang lahi man siya, no? Lahi siya na skill na kailangan. And STEM should ask a question that has a definite answer. So say, for example, this question, no? Let's look at the question. Jill spends most of her waking hours checking the doors and windows and taking showers. Is displaying, look at that. So ang estudyante, gusto di ay si ma'am na tan-awon niya nako ni unsa ni ni ani. That's not the job of the students to guess what is our question. Basin pwede po ingani, no? Be very clear on your STEM. Identify the basic behavior or disorder displayed by the subject below. Para po klaro. And then, na-add na ang case, and unsa dayon, no? Okay. Dili man part sa pag-measure sa imong skill, ang guessing the students, that they are going to guess what exactly you're asking. Okay? So, STEM has to be very clear. Kani po, Bushinger effect. Unsa daw? Unsa dayon? Ang effect sa unsa. Diba po? Medyo gahang siya. So if you have questions like this, you may also look into basin pwede po ma-improve. And avoid repetitive words in the options. Kanino? Which is filled with water from a stream, which is filled with water from a well. And pwede pong ingani. Pwede pong ba? Para dili magbalik-balik, isaka na lang ang katong gabalik-balik dito sa STEM. Okay? And then also avoid repetitive words in the option. How is the brain protected from disclosed with water? Yep. So pwede pong it is enclosed with blank tapos isa-isa na lang. Kaya dili man siya reading skill ka no? Balik-balik pag gid basa gid lugar, no? Also, na ako'y question, kung ang question number 1 is in a question form, should all the items in the multiple choice test be in a question form? So wala na po na siya nga mga rules, no? Nana siya ng mga rules sa una, mga 1980 po, na kana bitawang if ang question number 1 is in a question form, like how is the brain protected from injury? Siya, kailangan gid question form na giuli sa department chair kay dapat daw question form dapat. So ang nahitabo diri gihimong gingana sa maestra. The swimming pool that will need the most cleaning in one is the one filled with water from yang kita question mark para ma-question form. So, punto po is there are items in the multiple choice that is best asked, no? And formulated using a question form and some in a declarative form po. Sige po. Also, ang items, no, kung ABCD, isa lang kaana, kung ABCD nga, dili po pwede parehaning nasa ibabaw nga ani siya pagka-format. Okay, another, minimize the use of all of the above and none of the above. Look at this, no? According to distortion, energy, criteria, yielding occurs when, syempre nakabasa ang estudyante, letter A, distortion, energy, correct din na siya. A na din siya. Pero actually, ang answer ni teacher kay all of the above. So, unsa may naitabo? We are getting, our student, we are actually looking at all of something that produces overlapping alternatives. Wrong ba si student? Actually, dili siya wrong. Wala lang siya niabot sa ubos na all of the above. But what is the data that is coming to us? Wrong siya gid sa number 15. So, please avoid all of the above and none of the above, no? Nga mga items. Tapi mingon ka nga, ma'am, grabe, ang plausible gid is tulura. Tulura gid ang plausible. So butangan na lang nako all of the above. Kay dili man pwede joker kayo ang mga kuan, di ba? Mga choices. So pwede pong na-study no na items 1 to 4 choices. If you can have 5, better, no? 4 choices. Pag abot din sa other items, tulura ka choices, it has actually no effect sa buong reliability sa exam. So kung tulura gid ang pwede na choices daw sang uban, tag-upat, tinaglima, it's fine. Okay? Let's look at this. Options should be parallel in type of content. The basic unit of mass is answer ani. A, di ba? Tapos tanawon nimo ng letter D, kuan gid kaayo. out of ana. So, ang may tabo ani dili siya plausible, ba? Then klaro kaayo na dili siya answer, meaning tulo na lang ang ini mini mini mo sa mga estudyante. If tulo na lang ang ini mini mini mo niya, klaro kaayo it's possible na dako yung chance of getting the correct answer kung igo na siya nagtagna-tagna. Of course, no, that's probability. Okay, in statistics. And number should be in order. So, klaro na ko niha kung ang outcomes, kung ang choices are numbers, dapat when we talk about plausible distractors, these are the common misconceptions. So kami, no, 2 days are tossed, 6 plus 6, pwede 12, 6 times 6, pwede 36, 6 times unsa baka. These are the possible na mga wrong na mga estudyante. Para makakita ta na, oy, sayop then I'll have to emphasize on something. But numbers have to be in order. Kaya kung ang correct answer, ani no, 36, nabutangan din ako 35, nabutangan ako, halata kaayo yun. No? Dates should be in chronological order, no? And then lines should be in order as they appear in the passage. So, if tag-as kayo ang mga choices, it has to be in pyramid. Katong paper ta. But karon pwede naman nato ano? Not, no, you have to emphasize that because again, we don't want to trick students. We wanted to determine if they know. Diba? So these are sample knowledge items. No, ako iklaro, if the outcome is the student identifies the meaning of a term, then these are some of the questions. So if the outcome, muna importante na klaro sa ato ang outcome. But I'm gonna just show that. No, let's move to and then that one. So you can see this in the handout anyway. So I want you to be with me in the chat. No, for the next 4 pairs, decide which item is better and why. Be the department chair this time. Asa diri 1A or 1B ang medyo okay pagka-construct considering all the rules. Answers? Jennifer? Ano ka di ka ganahan sa 1A, Jennifer? No? Medyo nabahin tanong na ay mga 1A. Okay, others, please respond. Wa bitaw ni na-appeal sa recording. Pag-respond lang good mo. Tapos kung masayop, okay ra good. Sir Jerby. Sige po. May better ani. It's 1B, no? Okay, yun sa may nasa 1A. Let's look at the 1A ha. Promiscuous use ka ng mga terms niya diha, dili na siya okay. And then, natin ko ng dili pod concise kung unsa ang ano. Besides, ano siya no, knowledge level kayo, the promiscuous use of experience in the nose. Of course, it's a sinuses. So, nganong dili makay nice pagka-construct ng 1B. Number 1, kahit wala ko ani nga class, tagnaon lang na ako, Amerika ng ano ba, logic lang. Bilo na rin ko sa answer. That's not how we assess, di ba? Dapat ang wala ga tuon, wala ga kuan dili siya ka-answer. Okay, determining the lessons ano man. But of course, coming from yun na to ano mga activities, we determine kung kinsa ang naka ano gyud no. So that we have a data on if students are learning, ba? Let's move to the next, 2A or 2B. Answer please. Which one is better in terms of construction? Including choices. So when you look at the tanawa ang choices ha. Wala na po bang uban? Asa po mas okay dire? It's 2B. No? Nga naman, look at 2A. It's so trivial. Ba? So, ang gipangutana ang gusto gyud ma-determine sa maestra dire is nakadungdong ba siya sa point something after 59? Is that what it's trying to determine? So, parang trivia. No? Again, let's make the items relevant. Ba? Okay, let's move on. Number 3. 3A or 3B? Nagi patabandok, gwapa. Plus 10 gini ako ang mga amigo diri. So A is better. Alright. Sige nga no kaha. A is better constructed than B. Maybe because some of you are looking at B option A. And if that option includes, or if the distractors include an option that is not plausible, not attractive to those who do not know, kay klaro man kayo nga dili A. About how many recommended calories are daily for a chuk-chuk, ana-ana. Di man gid answer ng letter A. There's no such thing as 0. Therefore, tulo na lang yung pilian. Taas na din yung probability of getting the right answer kahit pag ini-minimize mo siya. So, dili pwede ang ana ang mga exam. No? Number 4 po, which are following sa category in the taxonomy? Sige po, ano pong okay? Let's show din answer, Ma'am Ruthie. Diyan. Okay, good job. Letter B. Dapat, as much as possible, do not include all of the above, none of the above. Because of option E, correct. Tungod sa D and E na all of the above. Salamat po, Sir Glenn. And Ma'am Angeline. Kani, asa may mas better? Tubag ani sa uban na, wala na gid may kabaluan ni Ma'am. Ilahan na nan kon. Mga pipila ka math, no? Na adiri. Sa tuagin tanawon if plausible, relevant, ang mga options and all that. No? Sige. Kani po, no? What is the sum? Mga ana, may ana. So there are so many ways of constructing your multiple choice. But look at this. No? In statistics, you can give a question and then you can have multiple choice after that. No? And then you can still determine whether our students are develop the concepts on null hypothesis and all that. No? Even in biology, you have a problem and then you have questions comes after that. So pwedeng table and then the questions. No? Again, dili na po to tinuod tong ang multiple choice kay dili maka-determine og higher order thinking skill. Depende po giunsa pag-construct. And remember po, multiple choice ang gigamit sa ato ang board exam. And nabagsak mong gidyapon tong mga wala giklaro. So therefore, maka-determine gid siya og skill if naa ba gyud, no? Ana. So again, our is have your questions peer review. Okay? So yun po. So please give us attach your TOS and that mark it workshop 3. The email subject is there, focus workshop 3 table of specs. Pwede po bang e-picture sa? So there are just 2 workshops that you're going to send to CiTL. Workshop 1 and 2, and then workshop 3, which is the TOS. Dili na po na mo i-ask na mag-submit mo og exam because we consider exams as very sacred. So dapat dili siya mag-leak, no? Ngayon, ana. So anyway, there. So these are the ano. So, question. Ato ba ning gidiskussan? Principles of effective assessment? Mga ana? Oops. So, uh, I'm down to my last few slides. Dili ko ka-share. Okay, ka-share. Okay, so we will just give you that. Okay, we'll just give you that. There. Okay. So, ato ba ning discussion? Principles of effective assessments. And were we able to discuss about the course syllabus and the course outcomes, the Bloom's taxonomy? Kaya ato man nag na, and then writing constructing the TOS. It's been a very full mornings po nakaya na to, medyo taas-taas siya nga session. So my question here is, what is your aha moment? There. Mangutanan na lang ko, no? Of all, malimtan ang tong tanan, asa yun dito ang makaingon ka, kanigyod akong nakuha? What is your aha moment po? Can I see in your chat? What is your aha moment? Yeah. Kanya-kanyang aha moment, ha? Kung unsa ang ulay butan na eh. No? Cheryl, no? Sana po maka-review ka. Course outcome, sabi ni Sir Jerby. Ano po yung take-away nyo? Yung mga realization, yung mga nakakaikalit na realize. Ano po mga aha moment? Ang syllabus, Jude Sir Glenn. Salamat po. Course outcome, ang Ruthie. Should be aligned. Perfect. Syllabus mix. Okay. Ang tira sa Mars, or Ramil, the TOS. Ganahan ko na, Ma'am Atara, no? Ganahan ko nang naatay na realize no, huy, unsa man di ay itong ako ang multiple choice. Balo ka nga mao gyapon na ma-realization katong amuan ni siyang workshop sa halos tanang faculty. And what I like about our colleagues, kahit professor ang level, and then they attend our workshops in designing assessments on outcomes, on performance-based. And I have humble colleagues, no? Ana din ang pagka-construct. They are professors, no? Or rank, layo ra kay sa ako meaning to as ibabaw, no? And very humble to still attend trainings. And so I'm reading everyone's TOS, course outcomes and syllabus, the order of multiple choice, ang syllabus. And sana po naka-enlighten me, and kung may naka-miss, pwede pong balikan ang video, no? So are there questions? Ma'am Ruthie says na siya clarification. So we can turn on the mic, no? TOS and Okay, will, ma'am. Salamat, ma'am Cheryl. Salamat, Sir Carl. You can unmute. Ma'am Ruthie, you have clarification. I'd welcome that. Naka-unmute na si Ma'am Ruthie. Ang syllabus po, ma'am, should be approved by the system or sa department chair lang. Ano po, ma'am? Chair and then dean. Yan po ang course syllabus. Even the TOS, chair and then dean. Ang kami po sa system, ang CiTL is to ensure na para-pareho taog understanding on something, creating the template, ganun po. Ang alignment sa assessment, and salamat Ma'am Arlene, no, for that realizing. Okay. Where to get the PEOs and POs of your program po from your department chair? Naabay standard sa pag-arrange sa choices? Yes po. Kung tag one word lang siya, dapat alphabetical. Kung kung muigo siya, dapat ang format is naka horizontal tanan. Kung dili muigo, dapat vertical tanan. in terms of arrangements of choices. Ang sa TOS, ang 1 point is equivalent to 1 number. How about 2 points? Because usually po, ano man tanong, multiple choice, kung ako lugar sa number of items lang. Wala talaga discuss of points. Pero, pwede po nga kung grabe ka-varied ang imuhang choices. No? Say for example, imuhang items sa imuhang exam. Say for example, imuhang knowledge 1 point, imuhang mga application is 3 points, mga ingayang anak po. Kuan po siya kanang pwede po ang katubitang number of items, ang imuhang ibutang dito is number of points. So, makita na dahil mo na kato na dayong imuha dayong points, no, depende imo din tumutang kani 3 points din. One item di ni siya. Ing ana ang variation. You can vary that. But what I showed you a while ago is just the items. So, pwede pong the higher the thinking, mas daghan ang buhaton sa mga estudyante, so mas higher points. Okay? So, malipayon kayo ko, no? Nga being with you guys. Salamat po, but I still see you tomorrow. And sana po, makita pagyapon mo na mo ugma, no? It's going to be our last hurrah of this program po. But I will be joined by Mr. Morcilia after I discuss the performance innovative task, meaning naatay mga assessment nga dili written, such as creating your performance task. And I'll be sharing about rubrics tomorrow, and Morcilia will be sharing about grading policy of the university, and also sharing giunsa niya iyang mga estudyante sa performance task sa old normal o sa new normal. If ever I have 10 topics na under sa final, katudyo tanan imuan o TOS or naay limitation or tanan topics, ay, sir, katong tanang topics na gusto niyo isulod is in 1 TOS. 1 TOS, tanang topics. Okay? Dili man ta TOS sa kada topic, di ba? 1 TOS, naa dito tanang topics na gusto nato ma-cover sa Okay? So I'll see you tomorrow. I'll give this back to Sir Arvin, but I'm seeing thank yous. You are very welcome, but I think I would really more say salamat sa inyong oras. Thank you po, Sir Arvin.
Thank you, Ma'am Amphi, for providing our participants enlightening discussions on assessment. No, what I love about this topic is it reminds me of the principles behind the kind of assessments we are conducting to our classes. And every time I join this training, I always have a eureka moment. No, there's always an epiphany. There's always a discovery. Or bito, ay, lagi no, nalimtan na ako kana di siya, or ano, wala rin ako siya nakita sa una. No, and I'm pretty sure our participants also felt that way or thought the same way, no? Na even though some of us are experts already in the teaching, naagid gyapon tayo ma-learn every time na mo kuan ta ani no, ma-refresh ta ani nga topic. Okay? So, thank you, ma'am. Now, I believe na hatag na ang mga questions, no, ganina. So, we'd like to hear from you. Okay? Please evaluate our session today through this link, and we are also actually sending the link on our chat. So kindly click on the link so that you can give your compliments, suggestions, and comments regarding the session for today, particularly on assessments. And of course, we will still be continuing about this topic tomorrow. No? So please don't forget. Okay, so again, this is the flow of our day today. And this will be our flow for tomorrow. And still, ang workshop gihapon na to siya mabuhat, just like what we will be doing this afternoon. So again, please do not forget to send your outputs to our email. Katong gihatag ni Ma'am Amphi kaganina nga email address, so that we can give you feedback tomorrow. And mas maayo gyud ang ma-feedbackan ang atong output because it will be very specific na dayon kung unsaon nato siya og revise or unsaon nato improve, no? And also we understand that there is a kung ano, currently there is a what we call this, a seminar or a webinar sa DPO or Department of tomorrow morning rather, DPO sa Digital Transformation Office, and it might be nga some of you ni magkuan ani mag-join ani. Do not worry if ever dili mo maka-join sa DPO tomorrow because naani kay naagi hapon sila yung session on December 2. Okay, nga pwede gihapon mo mag-appeal dito. Mag-welcome gihapon sila. Especially sa kami nga team, no, nga nag-appeal karon sa ato ang kuan sa ato ang session karon. Okay? Sige po. So that would be all for our session today, but before we go, may we request everybody to please turn on their camera so that sir, walay given name sa form. Let me check ha. Which form are you referring to? Give the evaluation. Your last name ra ang it's okay po kasi optional man pod ang kuan ang evaluation. Ang name sa evaluation. Okay po. Sige. So again, we are requesting everybody to please turn on their camera so that we can document. By the way, this is the for the attendance today, and we are also sending this to the deans and department chairpersons so that they can also monitor if you're joining this session. Our staff is currently
Smile, smile naman dyan, everyone. Ma'am Josephine, Sir Rico, Sir Alejo, Sir Segfred, wala po nakadungog sa imo. Hello, Sir Jerby, Sir Oliver.
Hindi, ang data dali sa office, ma'am. Yung kaputol ko.
Sir Ferdinand. Sir Marjones, I know. Oh. Sir Glenn Bellio. Now I have a face
Yes,
behind
ma'am. Sir, ma'am.
the names. Sir Joshua Marmara.
okay na.
Sheena.
Okay, last.
We're on the last frame, Ma'am Leona. Sir Jasper.
So we are done with our
Sir Mark. Hello. Kim.
Okay, so we are
You're
done.
there. Okay?
Okay.
All right. God bless everyone.
Thank you,
God
ma'am.
bless
Bye,
everyone.
ma'am. Thank you.
See you tomorrow at the
Thank you,
same
ma'am.
time.
Uh-huh.
God bless po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Bye
Thank you, ma'am.
po.
Sir Rico.
God bless atong tanan.
Sir Takador.
Go room 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Sir Oliver. Hello.
Bye, Amphi. Highly here.
Si Ma'am Heidi, ma'am, naghan sa imo.
Hi, Ma'am Hailey. Where?
Bye-bye. Congrats.
Wala ba kay Kama? I miss you.
Sir Carl, pwede na.
Ma'am Angel. Hello.